Chapter 863. The first move, space isolation. Why do you have to learn the first move, space isolation? Because the space door created by the second move has to be placed in a completely isolated space. Otherwise, it will disappear as soon as it appears. Shu Piaoyan said, "Child, let me ask you, what does space isolation mean?" "It steals a space." Yang Dingtian said, "For example, in a 10 square meter room, 1 square meter is stolen, but you can't see or feel it at all. That 1 square meter is in this room, but you can't find it at all. Of course, this square meter is the name of our Earth." "Yes, you are very smart." Shu Piaoyan said, "I am really looking forward to the next learning." "Then, how do you think you should steal this space?" Yang Dingtian fell into deep thought, then shook his head and said, "I don't know, teacher, but I know a kind of stealth mystic skill, which is also in an isolated space. No creature can find it except the undead." Shu Piaoyan said, "Show it to me." Yang Dingtian immediately displayed the stealth mystic skill and disappeared completely in the illusion. Yes, this hidden scriptures pavilion was an illusion, but the stealth mystic skill was also a kind of energy technique, so it was still effective here. Shu Piaoyan laughed and said, "Child, I can still see you. Although your mystic skill is quite mysterious, it is not a real space technique, but a pseudo-space technique. You are not in an isolated space, but a mirror effect similar to space. Do you understand?" Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, "It is like using a few mirrors to block a certain space, but the mirrors can project the light behind, so it creates the stealth effect." Shu Piaoyan said, "Of course, it has already begun to involve space techniques. Even in my era, your mystic skill was very amazing. However, a powerful spirit master at my level would be able to easily discover it." Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "I understand. I will be careful in the future." It turned out that the stealth mystic skill that he had always been proud of was not a real isolated space. But it was also true. If it was a real isolated space, he wouldn't be able to reach in and touch things inside. This was just a spatial mirror effect. "All right, child, tell me, what do you mean by space isolation?" Shu Piaoyan asked. Yang Dingtian thought for a while and then shook his head. Even the Naga of the later era could not understand such a profound thing, let alone Yang Dingtian. "Silly child, you have been imprisoned by your own thoughts," Shu Piaoyan said with a smile. "You must understand. Think boldly and let go of all your imaginations. No matter how absurd they are, it doesn't matter." Suddenly, Yang Dingtian recalled a joke from Earth. At that time, the Hadron Collision experiment was being conducted in Europe. Many people joked that it wouldn't create a portal or a black hole. "It's not that you don't know," said Shu Piaoyan. "You're very open-minded, but you don't dare to say anything. Just say whatever you want." Therefore, Yang Dingtian boldly said, "Black hole, devour everything." Shu Piaoyan suddenly clapped his hands. "Yes." Shu Piaoyan praised. "Son, although there is no such thing as a black hole in the chaotic world, it is still a black hole. But I immediately understood what you said. This is because wisdom is interconnected. As for how to isolate space and how to find your so-called black hole, I walked hundreds of thousands of miles and searched for it for 8 years. In the end, I found it in the celestial Red Sea. I've been to the celestial Red Sea. It is a forbidden area of energy. The seawater there contains dark crystals that can form black holes," Yang Dingtian said. "Yes, where have you been? After the great nirvana, it still exists?" Shu Piaoyan was surprised. "Then do you know? Perhaps the deepest secret of this world is hidden under the celestial Red Sea?" "Evil energy," Yang Dingtian said. "The celestial Red Sea was polluted by evil spirits, which is why it became a forbidden area of energy. In other words, the so-called energy black holes and dark crystals are pollutants of evil spirits." Suddenly, Shu Piaoyan was silent. He looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief and muttered to himself, "Son, you have only been in this world for a few years. But your understanding of this most profound knowledge has exceeded my 100 years. Could it be that the transcendental thinking from a different world is so amazing?" After a sigh, Shu Piaoyan said, "Let's continue." If you want to isolate space, you must go to the celestial Red Sea and extract a dark crystal from the endless seawater. Then, it will evolve into an energy body and use this energy body to isolate a space. It will devour everything in this space. Then this space will be stolen and disappear. Do you understand? Yang Dinga nodded and said, I understand. Shuwu Piaoyan laughed and said, and you just told me that you used the dark flame to devour the dark crystal and create a new dark flame. This is really heaven's will, huh? Suddenly, Shuwu Piaoyan let out an incomparably carefree laugh. Yang Dingan suddenly said with difficulty, Teacher, but my darkness mystic flame has already entered a complete hibernation. It has devoured countless dark crystals, the essence of the fallen silver dragon, and countless Naga deep sea black poison. What? Shuwu Piaoyan let out a sharp cry and said, Why didn't you say it just now? Yang Dingtian said, There are too many things, and this matter is very important. I need to tell you specifically. By the way, that dark green dark flame has now become a giant dragon, entrenched in the depths of my sea of qi. At this time, it has fallen into complete dormancy. Giant dragon? Giant dragon? Shuwu Piaoyan's figure began to tremble. Although it was an illusion spiritual body, his face was still pale. What's wrong, teacher? Teacher? Yang Dingtian asked. Shuwu Piaoyan was suffocated for a while, then waved his hand and said, It's nothing. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. Let's wait and see. Now, it's not the time for you to know. Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly trembled. Why did this sound so scary? Could it be that this dark green dragon was a disaster? Shuwu Piaoyan said, Your dark flame is completely dormant and can't be awakened? Yes, master. Yang Dingtian said, Last time, it resisted an attack that was more than 100 times stronger than me, so it fell into a deep sleep. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian asked, Teacher, without the darkness mystic flame, does it mean that the subsequent cultivation cannot be carried out? Shuwu Piaoyan said, Fortunately, I made sufficient preparations at that time. I thought that my successor might have a heaven and earth mystic flame, but he might not have the dark crystal. And for the purpose of research, I collected a lot of dark crystals in the celestial Red Sea and used a lot in New Naga. But there are still a lot left, and one of them is sealed in this scroll. Yang Dingtian suddenly said in astonishment, Master, can the dark crystal be sealed in an energy body? Shuwu Piaoyan said, Of course, the dark crystal is a kind of energy body, and it may not necessarily be a solid substance. Then, Shuwu Piaoyan stretched out his hand, and an energy jade box appeared in his hand. It was indeed a dark crystal, but this dark crystal was not a solid crystal, but a kind of jumping energy body, a bit like a flame. Master, what is the energy level of this dark crystal? How much water of the celestial Red Sea was used to refine it? Yang Dingtian asked. Shuwu Piaoyan said, An astronomical number, much more than the dark crystals you have swallowed in the past. Yang Dingan suddenly smacked his tongue and said, Then I probably can't bear it. I'm here, what are you worried about? Shuwu Piaoyan said, and then he handed over the energy jade box. Yang Dingtian took the energy jade box and looked at the dark crystal rising inside. Only God knew how much energy it had. Shuwu Piaoyan said with certainty that it was bigger than the dark crystals he had swallowed in the past. Previously, when he swallowed the dark crystal, Yang Dingtian's body was shattered, and the whole world changed dramatically. However, this was the scripture pavilion of the ancient Naga, and beside him was Shuwu Piaoyan's spiritual body. Although he didn't know what Shuwu Piaoyan's cultivation level was, he must have been at the demigod realm, because more than 100 years before he wrote the 5th stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, he was already the number 1 in the ancient human kingdom. He took a deep breath. Yang Dingtian began to devour the dark crystal. Whoosh! The endless dark crystal suddenly drilled into his Xian veins and poured into his sea of qi. In an instant, Yang Dingtian's inner world seemed to have completely entered the end of the world. Boom! In an instant, almost in an instant, he was about to be completely annihilated. The energy level of this dark crystal was too powerful. So much so that his body didn't even crack and burn, and he was about to be annihilated. However, an incomparably powerful energy suddenly came crashing down, forcefully blocking the destructive energy of the dark crystal. Then, at this moment, the dark green dragon in the depths of Yang Dingtian's sea of qi suddenly woke up. Seeing the dark crystal, it suddenly seemed to have gone completely crazy. The terrifying dragon stretched out countless tentacles, and a huge dragon head also suddenly emerged from the depths of Yang Dingtian's sea of qi. It didn't even care that Yang Dingtian would be directly smashed to pieces like this. Haha. The dark green dragon laughed wildly. Boom boom boom. Yang Dingtian's sea of qi was completely turned upside down. The dark green dragon crazily devoured the dark crystal with incomparable greed. At this time, Yang Dingtian's sea of qi was fortunately suppressed by Shuwu Piaoyan's energy. Otherwise, it would have been shattered and turned into ashes. At this moment, Shuwu Piaoyan suddenly stopped the output of the dark crystal, and then his spiritual energy suddenly drilled into Yang Dingtian's sea of qi, confronting the dark green dragon. When the dark green dragon saw the intruder, it instantly opened its mouth, wanting to tear and devour frantically. I don't know if your existence is a blessing or a curse. I know that in the future, you will be so powerful that even I can't catch up to you. But now, you are still not my opponent. Shuwu Piaoyan said coldly to the dark green dragon, "You are still in your embryonic form. Since you are entrenched in my disciple's body and he gave birth to you, I will take it as the will of heaven. No matter what the consequences are, I accept it. Now you and I make a deal." The dark green dragon stared at Shuwu Piaoyan with incomparable ferocity. It resisted the desire to crush this huge spiritual energy and slowly nodded. "I can continue to inject the dark crystal for you to devour and make you stronger, but in exchange, you must split out an independent dark profound flame for my disciple to use," Shuwu Piaoyan said. The dark green dragon suddenly roared. Split out the dark profound flame from its body? Easier said than done. Dragons were the greediest race in this world, even if it was an energy dragon. Trying to take a share of its energy was simply a pipe dream. Shuwu Piaoyan said, "The dark crystal I will give you to devour is 3 times more than the dark profound flame you will split out. You will benefit." The dark green dragon roared a few times and then nodded. Then, full of anger, it spat out a dark flame. This was the dark profound flame, a part of the dark green dragon's body. "Not enough, not enough," Shuwu Piaoyan said. The dark green dragon continued to spit. "Not enough, not enough," Shuwu Piaoyan said. "At least, it is more than 100 times more powerful than the previous pure dark profound flame." The dark green dragon roared wildly and continued to spit out flames with great heartache. In the end, it spat out an energy level that was 100 times more powerful than Yang Dingtian's pure dark profound flame. Then, it was unwillingly placed in Yang Dingtian's sea of qi. "It's your turn." The dark green dragon opened its mouth to Shuwu Piaoyan. Although it didn't say anything, it meant this. Shuwu Piaoyan nodded and immediately continued to release the dark crystal. Wow! Suddenly, the dark green dragon seemed to have ascended to the sky, crazily devouring the dark energy, and then dancing wildly in the depths of Yang Dingtian's sea of qi. It was a wonderful feeling. Yang Dingtian, on the other hand, couldn't bear it anymore and completely fainted. When Yang Dingtian woke up in the illusion of the scripture pavilion, the devouring of the dark crystal was over. The dark green dragon had already dove into the depths of his sea of qi contentedly, burping and snorting. "Well, now you have another dark profound flame that you can summon at any time," Shuwu Piaoyan said. "Give it a try." Yang Dingtian felt his sea of qi and found that there was indeed another profound flame. It was a pure dark profound flame, not a dark green profound flame. Moreover, the energy level of this dark profound flame was so powerful. It was more than 100 times more powerful than the previous pure dark profound flame. Yang Dingtian immediately summoned it. A dark profound flame that completely devoured the light was burning in the air, shining with an incomparably strange and mysterious darkness. "Well, child, get ready," Shuwu Piaoyan said. "I want to input the operating logic of the dark profound flame's spatial isolation into your brain, your profound veins, and your sea of qi." Yang Dingtian said. Suddenly, Xu Wu Piaoyan turned into a stream of light and poured countless codes into Yang Dingtian's brain. Chapter 864. In fact, regarding the greater space technique, Xu Wu Piaoyan originally wanted Yang Dingtian to comprehend it himself. For example, how to use the dark mystic flame to create an isolated space. This was the simplest part of the greater space technique. However, if he used the scroll code, it would take more than a few million. It was still an extremely complicated process. Even if Xu Wu Piaoyan knew it, it would take a long time for Yang Dingtian to fully comprehend it. What Yang Dingtian lacked the most now was time. Therefore, Xu Wu Piaoyan could only directly transform it with energy and input the code directly. It was like directly installing software on a computer and running it directly. In an instant, countless complex and mysterious energy methods transformed Yang Dingtian's mystic meridians, engraved his brain, and transformed his energy operation method. At this moment, Yang Dingtian's entire body was undergoing a baptism. He had no consciousness. He only felt countless lights and energy shuttling and circulating in his body. The whole process was relatively slow. At least, it was much slower than installing software on a computer. After an unknown amount of time, Xu Wu Piaoyan injected the energy operation method and logic of the first move, space isolation, into Yang Dingtian's body. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian didn't need to understand at all. These countless energy logic and codes were deeply engraved in Yang Dingtian's mind and stayed there forever. Xu Wu Piaoyan said, "Well, the first move, space isolation, has entered your body. Like I said, this is already beyond the scope of martial arts. Even if these things enter your mind, can you successfully use them? Can you use them well? It all depended on one's talent and intelligence. More importantly, intelligence. Try it." Yang Dingtian understood. It was like installing some software on a computer, such as Photoshop, but you might not be able to use it well. Or, if you installed League of Legends on your computer, you might not be able to play well. Of course, this greater space technique was much more profound and mysterious. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and began to try the first move of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, space isolation. He began to control the mystic flame. The dark mystic flame grew bigger, bigger, bigger. It became a flame that was about 1 cubic meter in size. He used a special energy method to gradually change the way the darkness profound flame operated. This was a very complicated and mysterious process. Under Yang Dingtian's control, the darkness celestial flame gradually turned into a whirlpool shape and started to spin and spin. There couldn't be the slightest mistake in this process, or else it would fail. Then, the flames began to hollow out. Instantly, the entire darkness mystic flame seemed to have turned into the shape of a water droplet. There was a complicated and mysterious vortex in the middle, and a space of 1 cubic meter appeared in the vortex. Then, the whirlpool of the dark celestial flame spun continuously and produced a huge suction force that was enough to devour everything, including space. After reaching the limit, swoosh! Everything in this space was instantly devoured by the darkness profound flame. After that, Yang Dingtian extinguished the darkness mystic flame and this space completely disappeared. It disappeared from this world and was completely stolen away. Of course, Yang Dingtian knew where this space was. He took out something and threw it into the air. Then the item disappeared into thin air. Of course, it didn't really disappear, but entered another isolated space. Then Yang Dingtian had learned the first move of the 5th stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, isolated space. He learned it in 1 try, and succeeded in 1 try. Xu Wu Piaoyan, who was on the side, was completely stunned and muttered to himself, "Even I, the so-called number 1 expert of the ancient civilization, can't help but be jealous." Then Xu Wu Piaoyan said, "Then, let's start learning the second move, space leap." Xu Wu Piaoyan was about to speak, but suddenly stopped and said, "Well, child, you're still the first to speak. What do you think the so-called space leap is?" "Creating a space door, a space crack, from one space to another," Yang Dingtian said. "Oh my God!" Xu Wu Piaoyan said, "A warrior of the chaotic world needs to understand this theory for at least a few decades, or even a lifetime. because he must first completely overturn everything in his mind, completely empty his mind, and then put this theory in. You will know it in an instant. So, what method do you think can be used to create a space door? The resonance of two powerful energies distort the space force field and create a space crack, Yang Dingtian said. Shiwu Piaoyan seemed to be struck by lightning and couldn't speak for a long time. Although I don't know the terms, resonance, and position you said. But I know what you said is right. Shiwu Piaoyan muttered to himself, I studied these theories for 50 years before I completely understood them. You? Did it take half a quarter of an hour? Yang Dingtian said embarrassedly, Senior, in fact, these theories have been described in more detail in our world. It's just that they have never been realized. Heaven's will, heaven's will. Shiwu Piaoyan said, then you should now understand the use of the fourth stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. Understood. Yang Dingtian said, the fourth stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, the great yin-yang scripture, is for the fifth stage. Transform my Shen veins, let me master the two energies of yin and yang, and then create resonance in the isolated space. What are you going to do? Shiwu Piaoyan asked. I have two heaven and earth Shen fires in my body, one is a yang 100 million spirit demonic fire, and the other is a yin ice spirit heavenly fire. Yang Dingtian said, I intend to let the two Shen fires collide in the isolated space with different frequencies and energy levels, until I find a successful frequency and create a space door. Shiwu Piaoyan was completely silent again. After a long time, he asked again, is this also the theory of your world? Yang Dingtian said, in fact, the countries in our world have undergone many similar experiments. For example, the Hadron Impact. Shiwu Piaoyan said, then you can start. By the way, do you know why you have to learn in the illusion? To save time and energy. Yang Dingtian said, because in the illusion of the mind, time can almost stop, which is several times, dozens of times, or even hundreds of times slower than in the real environment. This kind of energy collision requires countless experiments to find the right frequency and the right energy level to successfully create a space door. If it were in the real world, it would take a lot of time and a lot of energy. Shiwu Piaoyan licked his lips and said, maybe you can be my teacher. Then you can start by yourself. Then, in the illusion of the hidden scriptures pavilion, Yang Dingtian began the experiment. First, he used the dark Shen fire to create a completely isolated space. Then, he introduced the yin and yang Shen fires into this space and began to collide violently. It was not the chaotic Shen fire, but the yin and yang Shen fire. Boom! A white light that was countless times brighter than the sun burst out with extremely terrifying energy. It was almost like a nuclear bomb explosion. It was not lightning but a direct Shen fire. Yes, the collision of the two Shen fires was so amazing. Fortunately, in the isolated space, the energy could not overflow. Otherwise, the consequences would be that everything within hundreds of meters or thousands of meters would be turned into ashes and smashed into pieces. The first experiment failed. Of course, failure was normal. This could be said to be the most complicated experiment, and even the slightest mistake could not be made. Yang Dingtian was completely mentally prepared. He adjusted the energy ratio between the two sides and adjusted the energy speed during the collision. The second experiment was carried out. It still failed. The third time was still a failure. The fourth time, the fifth time, the sixth time, countless times. Failure, 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 failure. Yang Dingtian did not know how many failures he had experienced. Shiwu Piaoyan laughed and said, Child, it seems that this won't work. You need to enter a deeper level of meditation illusion. Otherwise, a few years won't be enough for you. Then, Shiwu Piaoyan took Yang Dingtian into a deeper level of meditation illusion. Here, time was many, many times slower than in reality. A dozen times, dozens of times, hundreds of times, Yang Dingtian completely understood why he had to conduct the experiment in the illusion. Because in reality, it was impossible to succeed even in 10 lifetimes. In terms of time, 100 years was not enough. In terms of energy, With Yang Dingtian's cultivation, he could only support 1,000 experiments in a year. In the illusion, Yang Dingtian might have failed more than hundreds of thousands of times. If he did 1,000,000 experiments in a real environment, it would take 1,000 years. One day, Yang Dingtian asked Xu Wupiaoyan which level of illusion he was in. How many times was the time in the illusion compared to the real time? Then, Xu Wupiaoyan told Yang Dingtian the answer. Yang Dingtian was completely stunned. He told Yang Dingtian that he had brought Yang Dingtian into the 9th level of the illusion of consciousness. As for the time multiplier, 2 hours in reality should be equivalent to about 1.5 months in the illusion. And there was another huge advantage. That was, in the illusion, when the mysterious fire collided, it did not need energy, so there was no need to recover energy at all. He could continue the experiment without interruption. Therefore, in theory, Yang Dingtian could conduct tens of millions of experiments in the illusion of consciousness. Of course, the premise was that Yang Dingtian did not collapse. Indeed, the most difficult thing was that Yang Dingtian did not collapse. When hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even more almost identical experiments were carried out, anyone would collapse, including Yang Dingtian. Therefore, Xu Wupiaoyan temporarily transformed Yang Dingtian's consciousness, making his nerves and consciousness numb. Once a person fell into numbness, it was not easy to collapse. Of course, it could also be said that numbness itself was collapse. However, this kind of numbness was similar to robots and computers. No matter how many times the same actions were repeated, they would not get tired, irritated, or crazy. In this way, again and again, again and again. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian succeeded once. Yang Dingtian succeeded. After the collision of the mysterious fire of yin-yang, a beautiful door of light and shadow appeared in the isolated space. Thank you, brothers. Chapter 865. Yang Dingtian, who was numb, suddenly woke up after a long time. Then he fell into infinite surprise and ecstasy. I did it. I did it. I can leave this damn place. Yang Dingtian shouted crazily. Xu Wupiaoyan was still smiling, watching Yang Dingtian go crazy. After a long time, Yang Dingtian suddenly asked, "Teacher, is the 5th stage of the pig-killing swordsmanship over? Is there a 3rd move?" "No," Xu Wupiaoyan said. Yang Dingtian was suddenly surprised, and then he said timidly, But I haven't broken through to the half-saint level. And teacher, it seems that the 5th stage of the pig-killing swordsmanship is useless to me, although it is extremely mysterious." Yang Dingtian's words were really heartless. It was like a child complaining that the gift given by his parents was not good enough. However, Yang Dingtian did not lie. The 1st stage of the pig-killing swordsmanship was very powerful, making Yang Dingtian almost invincible in swordsmanship. The 2nd stage was not very noticeable. The 3rd stage, yin and yang qi transformation technique, made Yang Dingtian's cultivation efficiency double with half the effort and could dissolve any kind of qi. The 4th stage, yin and yang heaven and earth skill, was the most useful to Yang Dingtian. In particular, the existence of the chaotic attribute, as well as the mysterious fire lightning, almost became the foundation of Yang Dingtian's life. The 5th stage, the great space skill, was the most mysterious, and also the most coveted skill in New Naga. Of course, if Yang Dingtian wanted to leave the confinement space of New Naga, he had to learn the great space skill. However, it did not seem to improve his fighting strength that much. The reason why Yang Dingtian came was that he felt that the 5th stage of the pig-killing swordsmanship could help him break through to the half-saint level. Haha. Xu Wupiaoyan laughed and said, "Silly boy, first of all, I deliberately poured a lot of energy into the first few stages of the pig-slaying swordsmanship to bring about a breakthrough in your cultivation. Therefore, when the energy from the scroll enters your body, it will bring about a huge breakthrough in your qi. Secondly, the first 4 stages were still considered pure martial arts scrolls, but the 5th stage greater space art was already completely beyond the scope of martial arts. Of course, when the energy of the scroll entered your body, engraved memories in your brain, changed the way your profound veins operated, and entered the code. Complicated adjustments have been made to the way your darkness mystic flame operates and the way your yin-yang mystic flame operates. A certain amount of energy has also entered your body. But if you want to rely on this energy to break through, it's impossible. Yang Dingtian smiled embarrassedly. Teacher, with this 5th rank, I will be able to leave this place. Furthermore, it is already worth it to be able to meet you again. As for breaking through to the half-saint realm, I can go to other places. Silly boy, Shuwu Piaoyan said with a smile. You still think that the greater space technique is useless to you. Can you imagine what it can bring you? Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, You can let me leave New Naga. And during the battle, in case of extreme danger, I can open the space door and leave directly. Shuwu Piaoyan shook his head and said, Without the greater space technique, where did you get this ring? Yang Dingan was suddenly stunned and said, My space ring, was it made by the greater space technique? Shuwu Piaoyan nodded and said, The ring on your hand should be the experimental product of the greater space technique that I and Ancient Naga studied. We made several rings in total, but I didn't expect that one of them would be in your hand. Yang Dingtian was shocked. It turned out that this was how the greater space ring came about. This ring was given to him by Shimin Ningning. Why did Shimin Ningning have the greater space ring made by Ancient Naga? Suddenly, Shimin Ningning's identity became even more confusing in Yang Dingtian's eyes. He originally thought that Shimin Ningning would be the most senior spy of the Temple of Annihilation, but it seemed that she was not. The people of the Temple of Annihilation did not have the right to possess the greater space ring of Ancient Naga. However, Shuwu Piaoyan's expression became dignified and he said, Child, do you know? At that time, we only made 9 greater space rings, which should have been in the confinement space of New Naga. It was impossible for them to leak out. But now they have leaked out. Do you know what this means? Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat and he said, It means that there are deserters in Ancient Naga, and at least one of them did not disappear and create this isolated space. Shuwu Piaoyan nodded and said, Otherwise, the greater space ring would not have leaked out. Yang Dingan said, Master, this greater space ring was given to me by a lover of mine. Her name is Shimin Ningning, and she once brought me the deep sea black poison. After she was poisoned, she suddenly became very powerful and slaughtered thousands of people in an instant. Shuwu Piaoyan gasped and said, There is really a Naga who did not abide by the ancient agreement and escaped without permission. Your lover, Shimin Ningning, may be a descendant of Naga. Yang Dingtan said, But her cultivation is very weak, almost no cultivation at all. She is a very, very, very talented spiritual master. At this point, Yang Dingtian immediately understood. In order to make up for her heinous crimes, Ancient Naga sacrificed herself and created the confinement space of New Naga. And she let her descendants take another path, a spiritual breakthrough. Therefore, in the later generations of Naga, there were a group of wise people who had extremely high spiritual talent but very low martial talent. Shimin Ningning was such a wise person with a spiritual talent. She was from the later generations of Naga, so she did not have the deep sea black poison. However, her parents had it, so she did not know how far she had gone to find her parents for the deep sea black poison. After she was poisoned, not only was she fine, but she also became very powerful. It was like after Queen Lan Qi was poisoned by the deep sea black poison, she became much stronger and defeated Bu Yikao. Everything was echoing. Shimin Ningning's identity was solved. She was the descendant of the defectors of Ancient Naga. She was from the later generations of Naga. Yang Dingtian suddenly gasped. He did not expect that when he was very, very weak, there would be a later generations of Naga by his side, and she was his lover. Then, where did Shimin Ningning go now? Moreover, this also meant that Shuang was no longer the only demigod Naga in the chaotic world. As a later generations of Naga, how could Shimin Ningning be in such a small force like Cloud Sky City? How could she become Shimin Hui's adopted daughter? This was a complete mystery. Also, were Shimin Ningning's Naga parents enemies or friends? Child, you can't figure out these things now. Anyway, one day, you will meet her, Shuwu Piaoyan said. Yang Dingtian immediately nodded. Subsequently, he recalled something and asked, That's right. Teacher, is this spatial ring also an isolated space? Shiwu Piaoyan said, yes, you finally remembered. However, it is very difficult for an isolated space to exist directly in an ordinary environment. It will be turned into ashes in an instant. Yang Dingtian said, but when I just removed the mystic fire, the isolated space was still there. After that, Yang Dinghan patted his head and said, I'm confused. This is an illusion. Yes, in a real environment, it will disappear in an instant. It must be under the protection of the dark mystic fire vortex, Shiwu Piaoyan said. However, there is something that can directly lock the isolated space. What is it? Yang Dingtian asked. Void stone and dark crystal. Shiwu Piaoyan said, through the carving of energy, you can create a permanent dark vortex in the void stone. In this way, the isolated space can exist in the void stone. Then you can carve anything with the void stone, such as a ring. Yang Dingtian said, does the void stone mean that it usually doesn't exist and only shows its original form when energy is injected? Yes, Shiwu Piaoyan said. Yang Dingtian said, does that mean that I can also make a space ring as long as I have the void stone? Shiwu Piaoyan said, of course, child. It is a very complicated and difficult process to carve a black vortex with energy. It is also a very powerful cultivation process. Once you succeed, you will gain a lot. Yang Dingtian suddenly became excited. A space ring was the most awesome thing in the chaotic world. If he could make one and give one to each of his confidants, how convenient it would be to transport things. Teacher, where can I find the void stone? Yang Dingtian asked. Shiwu Piaoyan said, it is everywhere, but under normal circumstances, it is impossible to find it. Then how can I find it? Yang Dingtian asked. When you get close to a place and find an energy vortex, all the energy is involuntarily swept in. There is a void stone there, Shiwu Piaoyan said. Then, you can find it and inject energy, and it will show its form. Yang Dinghan asked, then where does it like to appear? Shiwu Piaoyan said, it is at the bottom of the sea in New Naga. The closer you are to the end of the world, the greater the possibility of finding it. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be eager to try. Shiwu Piaoyan said, next, what is the use of the greater space technique? Think about it. Yang Dingtian said, can I go wherever I want in the future? Just open a space door and jump in. Shiwu Piaoyan was shocked and said, child, even I am shocked by your words. In theory, yes, but in practice, it is impossible because it requires almost infinite energy. Yang Dingtian said, then if I can fold space, I can go wherever I want? Shiwu Piaoyan was stunned. He was indeed deeply shocked by Yang Dingtian's theory. He muttered to himself, yes, folding space, folding space. Why didn't we think of it at that time? Child, if only we had met you earlier. Yang Dingtian asked, teacher, how far can I jump with this space door? Shiwu Piaoyan said, with your cultivation, it should be infinitely close. Yang Dingtian was a little disappointed. Shiwu Piaoyan said, although it is infinitely far, you can freely travel between planes. And this distance is not significant for the space door. You can only open the space door when you are in danger and let all your companions escape quickly. Or, you can directly sneak into a certain place. Yang Dingtian thought of this scene. He led his powerful confidants directly to open the space door and instantly enter the enemy's rear. Just thinking about it made him excited. Or even more exaggerated, he could directly build a missile and then set up a space door. The missile could pass through the space door and hit the Vulture Palace in an instant. Suddenly, Yang Dinghan hurriedly asked, is this possible? Of course it is. Shiwu Piaoyan said, this is a directional space door. The stronger your cultivation is, the more energy you inject into it, and the greater the space door can cross. So, the idea in your mind is completely possible. Yang Dingtian was very excited. Shiwu Piaoyan said, well, silly child, you worked so hard to find the 5th level of the pig-slaying swordsmanship just to break through to the half-saint realm, right? Yang Dingtian nodded quickly. Shiwu Piaoyan said, although the 5th level of the pig-slaying swordsmanship can't help you achieve your goal, But it is not difficult for you to break through to the half-saint realm now. Yang Dingtian was pleasantly surprised. Can I do it now? Shuwu Piaoyan said, your cultivation, according to what you said, should be the 3rd grade of the 14th level. Yang Dingtian nodded. Originally, Yang Dingtian had broken through to the 5th grade of the 14th level, but when he was passing through and swallowing the thick fog, a lot of energy was swallowed and fell to the 3rd grade of the 14th level. Shuwu Piaoyan said, don't you still have 3 16th level energy bodies and 1 18th level energy body? Yes, Yang Dingtian had a 16th level energy essence, 2 16th level hell magic crystals, and 1 18th level hell magic crystal. Yang Dingtian said, unfortunately, I can't swallow 16th level energy essences with my current cultivation. And I can't transform the hell magic crystals into energy essences that can be swallowed and remove the death energy inside. Shuwu Piaoyan suddenly laughed and said, silly child, you can't swallow 16th level energy essences and remove the death energy in front of me. Yang Dingtian was stunned and said, You can? Shuwu Piaoyan said, I can negotiate with the abyssal dragon. Do you think I can? Yang Dingtian was surprised and said, okay, then take out the energy essences and hell magic crystals. Help me. Before he could finish speaking, the 4 energy bodies floated directly from reality into the illusory realm. Among them, the huge one, pale golden and almost colorless, was the 18th level hell magic crystal. Shuwu Piaoyan easily stripped the death energy of the hell magic crystal and turned it into pure energy essence. Then he easily condensed 3 16th level energy essences. Originally, it was not enough to become a 17th level ultimate energy essence, but Shuwu Piaoyan compressed it and made it a mid-16th level ultimate energy essence. Yang Dingtian immediately gasped in amazement. Then, Shuwu Piaoyan handed the mid-16th level ultimate energy essence to Yang Dingtian. Swallow it and see how much you can break through. Yang Dingtian took it, put it in the palm of his hand, closed his eyes and swallowed it. Chapter 866. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian thought that this was an illusion. Could it be that he could devour the energy essence? Suddenly, he couldn't help but voice his doubts. Shuwu Piaoyan smiled and said, child, you are separating illusion and reality too far apart. Some things can cross between reality and illusion, such as energy bodies. You just need to devour them. Oh, okay, Yang Dingtian said. Then, he closed his eyes and began to devour the 16th level ultimate energy essence. Suddenly, an incomparably powerful energy poured in an instant. It was stronger than any energy essence that Yang Dingtian had devoured in the past. According to common practice, with such a strong and dense energy pouring into the Shen meridians and Sea of Qi, blood would be spurted out in almost the next second. Then, the Shen meridians would crack, and the whole body would explode. However, just as Yang Dingtian felt that his eyes were white, he was about to faint, and his whole body was about to explode in an instant. Suddenly, a powerful energy shrouded him, suppressing this tearing tendency. Then the energy essence surged in an instant. In just a moment, Yang Dingtian's Sea of Qi began to expand, and then in an instant, it exploded. Boom! His whole body completely sank into nothingness. Then, Yang Dingtian's Sea of Qi began to break through and rushed to the 14th level 4th rank again. After only a quarter of an hour, Yang Dingtian's Sea of Qi was filled again and began to expand. Boom! The world in the depths of the Sea of Qi exploded again. Yang Dingtian broke through again and returned to the previous highest level, the 5th level 14th level. Nearly a quarter of an hour later, Yang Dingtian's Sea of Qi exploded again and broke through the 6th level 14th level. Another quarter of an hour later, Yang Dingtian's Sea of Qi expanded again, but this time it was not so strong and seemed to be a little weak. However, Yang Dingtian's luck was very good. Boom! The world in the Sea of Qi exploded again, and Yang Dingtian's cultivation broke through again, reaching the 7th level 14th level. Finally, the energy of the 16th level medium limit was completely consumed, allowing Yang Dingtian to break through to the 4th level. After opening his eyes, Yang Dingtian finally could not help but ask, Teacher, you're just a spiritual body. How can you be so powerful? Shuwu Piaoyan reached out and touched Yang Dingtian's head. He said, Child, I am just a spiritual body. How could I have such powerful energy? It's because I'm inside the hidden scriptures pavilion's cube. I can borrow the energy inside. This is an incomparably huge energy field. Yang Dingtian nodded. He finally understood. Then he asked Shuwu Piaoyan, do you want to use this level 18 energy essence as well? Of course, said Shuwu Piaoyan. Yang Dingtian said, but there's only one of him. He can't become an ultimate energy essence, can he? Shuwu Piaoyan laughed. Who told you that an energy essence cannot become an ultimate energy essence? The so-called ultimate energy essence is not an increase in energy level, but an increase in energy density and the amount of energy that can be produced per unit of time, right? Yang Dingtian nodded. Shuwu Piaoyan said, usually, you need several energy essences to fuse. That's because your cultivation is not high enough and you can't forcibly compress its energy density. But I can do it easily. After saying that, Shuwu Piaoyan easily used the energy field of the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion to compress this level 18 intermediate energy essence into a very dense ultimate energy essence. Yang Dingtian asked, after being compressed, what level of ultimate energy essence is it equivalent to? Shuwu Piaoyan said, it's still a level 18 intermediate energy essence. If you want to equate it, then it's probably stronger than the level 18 ultimate energy essence you swallowed before. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath. This was an energy essence that was 3 or 4 levels higher than his own. If it weren't for Shuwu Piaoyan, swallowing such an energy essence would definitely be a dead end. There was a 1000% chance that he would turn into ashes. He put this level 18 energy essence in his hand, and then a warm energy shrouded him directly. It almost protected every inch of Yang Dingtian's body, except for his sea of qi. For Yang Dingtian, this 18th rank energy essence was too shocking. So much so that Shuwu Piaoyan had to treat it seriously and protect Yang Dingtian to the extreme. Okay, child, you can start now, Shuwu Piaoyan said. After Yang Dingtian took a deep breath, he began to swallow. Then he only felt a flash of golden light, and he instantly lost all his consciousness. The integration of this energy was completely destructive, and crazy. Although Yang Dingtian's body was protected to the extreme, his entire consciousness was instantly short-circuited. Of course, Yang Dingtian soon woke up. Then he found that his whole body didn't seem to be his at all. He couldn't feel anything. Soon, his sea of qi began to expand. Oh no, it didn't even expand before it exploded. The level 18 energy essence made Yang Dingtian break through to the level 8 of the 14th level. Then, it also made Yang Dingtian break through to the level 9 of the 18th level. Next was the most important process of breaking through to the level 15 half-saint. Yang Dingtian's heart couldn't help but beat wildly. The 15th level was almost one of the most difficult hurdles. Under normal circumstances, if one's luck was very good, it would take 5 level 16 energy essences to go from the level 9 of the 14th level to the 15th level. Then, was the compressed level 18 energy essence in Yang Dingtian's hand enough at this time? He didn't have any confidence at all. He even had an 80% chance of failure. However, reality almost didn't give him a chance to be nervous. There was no suspense. Unparalleled powerful energy poured into his sea of qi. Soon, it began to expand. Yes, it kept expanding. If it didn't explode, it couldn't break through. Then Yang Dingtian felt a sense of suffocation. He felt that his sea of qi began to overturn. It began to feel as if it was going to be completely destroyed. Yang Dingtian entered the most dangerous situation. Because this kind of energy was too eager for quick success, the sea of qi finally solidified and became stagnant. In other words, the qi energy was already enough for a breakthrough. But the sea of qi didn't change. It couldn't produce a qualitative change. However, the qi energy was still pouring in. There was only one result in this afternoon. That was, the sea of qi would really explode. It would completely explode. Yang Dingtian's whole body would be completely destroyed. At this time, Shuwu Piaoyan couldn't care about anything else. A powerful spiritual energy poured in and blocked the entrance of Yang Dingtian's Sea of Qi, preventing the energy from continuing to enter. At the same time, the black-green giant dragon, who felt the danger of destruction, finally stopped trembling after the devouring. Suddenly, countless tentacles stretched out from the abyss of the Sea of Qi. The tentacles swept up the Qi energy that had been filled to the extreme. They spun quickly and then scattered. Boom! The energy in Yang Dingtian's Sea of Qi finally exploded. Then, his whole body and divine sense fell into nothingness. He had broken through to the 15th level. He had broken through to the half-saint level. Although it was a little thrilling, he had broken through to the half-saint level. However, it seemed that because it was too smooth, there was no sacred and grand feeling. Yes, because of the existence of Shuwu Piaoyan's spiritual body in the energy field of the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion, it was so easy to break through to the half-saint level. Compared to breaking through to Martial Venerable, Supreme Master, and Great Grandmaster, Yang Dingtian's breakthrough to the half-saint level was the easiest. Wu Yuming, after countless years, relied on evil spirits to break through to the half-saint level. Wu Daozi also broke through to the half-saint level many years after entering the infinite Great Grandmaster level, relying on evil spirits. Yang Dingtian, from entering the infinite Great Grandmaster level to breaking through to the half-saint level, took about 2 years. It was really incredible to the extreme. From then on, Yang Dingtian really realized how cool it was to have a strong backer. In order to break through to the half-saint level, others had almost put in a lifetime of effort. But in front of Shuwu Piaoyan, it was so easy to break through. Without Shuwu Piaoyan, Yang Dingtian really didn't know how long it would take for him to break through. Because in the second dark realm, it was almost impossible to hunt elemental creatures. Relying on normal cultivation, even with Yang Dingtian's talent, it might take countless years. Moreover, the human countries didn't have enough energy density. However, after breaking through to the half-saint level, Yang Dingtian's breakthrough still didn't stop. Soon, his Sea of Qi began to expand again. Boom! Another breakthrough, reaching the first rank of the 15th level. However, the breakthrough didn't stop. After a full quarter of an hour, Yang Dingtian's energy reserve expanded again. Boom! Yang Dingtian broke through again, reaching the second rank of the 15th level. Yang Dingtian was really going crazy. However, the breakthrough wasn't over yet. After nearly half an hour, Yang Dingtian's energy reserve began to expand again. This kind of surprise almost made Yang Dingtian's nerves numb. It was like a person who bought a lottery ticket and only wanted to win 100,000, but in the end, he won 30 million. Boom! Yang Dingtian's energy reserve broke through again. He actually broke through to the third rank of the 15th level. Finally, the crazy breakthrough stopped. This 18th level high-density ultimate energy essence was completely exhausted. It actually allowed Yang Dingtian to break through a big level and 5 ranks. It was really too heaven-defying. Of course, at this time, Yang Dingtian's energy reserve had only reached the third rank of the 15th level. His real cultivation was still at the 9th rank of the 14th level. Because his energy reserve and the entire Shen meridians needed to be sublimated. Otherwise, even if he had the cultivation of a half-saint, he couldn't use it. Yang Dingtian asked, "Teacher, can my mystic fire lightning help me sublimate my energy reserve and Shen meridians and reach the true cultivation of a half-saint?" Shuwu Piaoyan said, "Of course. At this time, the power of your mystic fire lightning has completely surpassed the 19th level." Yang Dingtian said, "But I can't control this energy level well. If it's too high, I will be directly struck into ashes." Shuwu Piaoyan suddenly laughed and said, "Are you kidding? What do I do? What does the giant dragon in your energy reserve do? You can directly strike it with the highest level of mystic fire lightning." Immediately, Yang Dingtian felt that having such a huge backer was truly a very, 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 very good thing. Whoosh! He released the million-spirit demonic fire with the chaotic attribute. Whoosh! Then he released the demon spirit demonic fire with the chaotic attribute. Finally, he summoned the void-splitting fire with the chaotic attribute. 3 mystic fires suddenly flew to the top of his head. At the same time, Shuwu Piaoyan suddenly released an energy shield to ensure that the mystic fire lightning was completely shielded within the energy shield. Bang! The 3 mystic fires fiercely collided. Boom! Once again, the light was like a nuclear bomb explosion. Unparalleled powerful energy suddenly poured into Yang Dingtian's body. This energy was actually not enough. Yes, such a heaven-defying mystic fire lightning was actually not enough for Yang Dingtian's energy reserve to sublimate. This was a saint-level energy of nearly 20 levels. However, Shuwu Piaoyan obviously thought of this. Almost at the same time, an incomparably powerful lightning suddenly struck Yang Dingtian and poured into his body. The energy was enough. All the energy suddenly drilled into Yang Dingtian's energy reserve. There was no trace on the surface of his body. The 3 mystic fire lightning and the lightning energy created by Shuwu Piaoyan's spiritual body all poured into Yang Dingtian's energy reserve and instantly condensed into an extremely small point. Then, it suddenly exploded. Boom! Yang Dingtian's energy reserve seemed to have experienced the explosion of a nuclear bomb again. Then, this incomparably powerful energy was instantly swallowed by his energy reserve and suddenly transformed and upgraded. Yang Dingtian, in terms of cultivation, had really broken through the half-saint level and reached the 3rd grade of the 15th level. He had become one of the few half-saints in the world. Chapter 867. For a long time, Yang Dingtian was still immersed in the joy of breaking through to the semi-saint realm. Then he asked, "Teacher, you said that you would go to the world of death to find the ultimate way to save the world and put an end to the great nirvana extinction, right?" Shuwu Piaoyan said, "Yes, but I really can't guarantee success. I even think the probability of success will be very low." Yang Dingtian said, "I also saw that the world of death has been devouring the world of life. The border of the abyss is spreading every day. This trend seems to be very, very difficult to stop." Shuwu Piaoyan said, "Child, so I can't guarantee that there will be a 6th level of the pig-killing swordsmanship. If there is a 6th level, then I should have found the way to save the world." Yang Dingtian asked, "Do you have any ideas now? For example, what will the 6th level of the pig-killing swordsmanship be about?" Shuwu Piaoyan shook his head and said, "I still don't know. At that time, I was with the Naga for many years, but I couldn't find a way to save the world. So the ancient Naga could only sacrifice the whole clan and create this isolated space with the space technique." Yang Dingtian was silent for a moment and said, "Teacher, I should go out. Do you have any other orders?" Shuwu Piaoyan thought for a while and shook his head. "Originally, I wanted to tell you not to let the real Naga in your space ring completely transform. But now, I don't know what to do because there are obviously other real demigods in the world, at least one Naga. If it is an enemy, then you have to rely on your Naga wife to defeat her." Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "I know. I will find the most gentle way to let her transform. Do you have any instructions for the giant dragon in my Sea of Qi?" Shuwu Piaoyan shook his head and said, "Everything is up to fate." Yang Dingtian looked at Shuwu Piaoyan and his slightly aged face. He really didn't know when they would meet again. He didn't even know if they would ever meet again. Yang Dingtian suddenly felt a little sour. "Okay, you can leave now." Shuwu Piaoyan waved his hand. "Yes, teacher." Yang Dingtian then bowed deeply to him. Then the Shuwu Piaoyan disappeared completely, and Yang Dingtian exited the deepest level of the illusion. As if countless reflections were shuttling back and forth, Yang Dingtian first returned to the great illusion realm of the scripture depository. Then, the scene changed again. Yang Dingtian left the sutra depository and returned to reality. Then, Yang Dingtian saw that he was floating on the sea with Queen Lan Qi beside him. Yang Dingtian was stunned. "More than half a month? Is that a long time?" Queen Lan Qi shook her head and said, "Not very long, only more than 5 days." Yang Dingtian bowed and said, "Thank you, Lan Qi. Oh, by the way, I'll return the sutra depository cube to you." When he was about to return it, he found that his hands were empty. Queen Lanchi said, "When you came out, the Sutra Depository Cube had already returned to my body." Yang Dingun asked, "By the way, did you see a huge lightning bolt strike my head?" Lanchi said, "I felt it, but I couldn't see it. There was a space that wrapped your body directly. I couldn't find anything inside." Yang Dingtian entered the soul ring to check and found that the hell magic crystals had long disappeared without a trace. He checked his cultivation again and found that it was indeed much stronger. It was a complete qualitative leap and sublimation. Just as Xu Wu Piaoyan said, sometimes the boundary between illusion and reality was not so clear, and energy could directly shuttle between them. Then, Yang Dingtian began to try the fifth stage of the pig-slaying swordsmanship, the Great Space Technique. First, he released the dark profound flame, and then used an incomparably mysterious method to make the dark profound flame spin into a profound flame. The entire process was extremely complicated, but because Yang Dingtian had learned the pig-slaying sword art scroll, the procedures were already engraved in his brain and mystic meridians. Hence, there was no need for Yang Dingtian to understand it and was able to operate it immediately. Suddenly, a complete dark profound flame vortex was created, and a black hole space created by the dark profound flame was created. Then, this black hole gradually swallowed everything in this space. As a result, this space was completely stolen and isolated. Then Yang Dingtian used the modified yin-yang profound flame to collide in the space. He used an extremely special energy level and energy frequency to collide. Boom! In the isolated space, an extremely bright light burst out. Then, a beautiful space door appeared in the isolated space. It was indeed mysterious and magical to the extreme. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian thought that when creating the space door, Xu Wu Piaoyan could also directly tell Yang Dingtian the energy level, energy attribute, and energy frequency of the profound flame's collision. There was no need for countless experiments. Just like other secret manuals, it could be directly engraved in the profound meridians and consciousness. However, in order to let Yang Dingtian have a deeper understanding, Xu Wu Piaoyan let him carry out countless experiments, and he reaped the joy of this success. Yang Dingtian dispersed the dark profound flame vortex. Suddenly, this beautiful little space door directly appeared in the air. When Queen Lanchi saw this, she immediately suffocated. Her beautiful face flushed red, revealing a look of disbelief. In the air, the space door only existed for a moment, and then it immediately disappeared. Queen Lanchi reacted after a long time and said, "Yang Dingen, this is the space technique. Through this door, you can leave the confinement space of New Naga?" Yang Dingtian nodded. Queen Lanchi immediately covered her heart, suppressing the strong impulse in her heart. This was something that all Naga people dreamed of. Bu Yikao started a rebellion of millions of Naga people and finally died for this space door. Now, this space door appeared in front of her, and it was created by a human. How could Queen Lanchi not be excited and shocked? After a long time, Queen Lanchi calmed her breathing and said, "Your Excellency Yang Dingen, you shouldn't have released this space door, because it is also very tempting to me." As soon as these words came out, Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly jumped, and an incomparably tempting thought surged in his mind. This Queen Lanchi was so powerful. If she followed him back to the human countries and fought side by side with him, wouldn't that be a good thing? However, he quickly gave up this tempting idea. Because it was impossible. First of all, Queen Lanchi had to guard New Naga. This was her mission. Secondly, Yang Dingtian's space door's energy was limited. It couldn't pass through a powerful Naga like Queen Lanchi. It could only pass through energy bodies with the same cultivation level as him or lower. "Okay, let's go back," Queen Lanchi said. "Accompany me for a few more days, then return to the human countries." Yang Dingtian looked at the bottom of the sea and said, "Lanchi, the sea at the end of the world is below, right?" "Yes," Queen Lanchi said. Yang Dingtian said, "If you don't have anything urgent, let's go to the bottom of the sea and look for a kind of void stone." Queen Lanchi said, "Void stone? This thing is useless. Why are you looking for it?" Yang Dingtian said, "To create a space ring." Queen Lanchi said, You know how to create a space ring?" Yang Dingtian said, I can only try. I don't know if I will succeed. By the way, my teacher said that there are a total of 9 space rings. Most of them are in New Naga. Do you know? Queen Lan Chi shook her head and said, I don't know. I have never seen or heard of it. Yang Dingtian thought for a while and said, oh, then maybe space rings are also taboo in New Naga. If you have something to do, can you go back to the capital first? Queen Lan Chi said, what can happen to me? It's not like you don't know that I'm bored to death every day. Then Yang Dingtian and Queen Lan Chi went to the bottom of the sea to look for void stones. It was very troublesome for others to find void stones. They had to release a powerful energy field to cover the surrounding area and find an energy vortex. No matter how powerful a person was, their energy field could only cover a diameter of a dozen miles at most. Moreover, the consumption of Xian Qi was extremely fast. Yang Dingtian was different. The countless wraiths he released could easily cover a diameter of more than 100 miles. Moreover, the consumption of Xian Qi was almost negligible. After going to the bottom of the sea, Yang Dingtian immediately released countless wraiths to cover a diameter of 100 miles. He didn't find anything. Yang Dingtian moved to the next area and still didn't find anything. It seemed that there weren't as many void stones as he thought. Yang Dingtian moved to the next area. Just like that, Yang Dingtian searched a radius of 1,000 miles before finding the first void stone. Queen Lan Chi seemed to be even more excited than him. She rushed over and injected energy into the entire area. Suddenly, a void stone about an inch long grew in a pile of crystals. Queen Lan Chi quickly picked it and played with it in her hands for a while before handing it to Yang Dingtian. This thing was useless to her. She just liked to play and enjoy the fun of finding things. The two of them searched for a day and a night. Yang Dingtian finally found a dozen void stones. The small ones were only half an inch long, and the big ones were only 2 to 3 inches long. With these gains, Yang Dingtian and Queen Lan Chi returned to the capital. Yang Dingtian was going to use these void stones to carve a small dark vortex with energy. Then he would create a permanent isolated space. This way, a rare treasure, the space ring, would be born. Of course, Yang Dingtian didn't know if it would succeed. But whether it succeeded or not, Yang Dingtian would leave New Naga and return to the human countries in 3 days. Chapter 868. The feeling of passing through the space portal was far less mysterious than passing through the abyss border. It was just a flash of light before his eyes and a chill on his face. Yang Dingtian passed through the space portal. Suddenly, his vision darkened, and he felt the energy in his body flowing away quickly. After jumping through the space portal, Yang Dingtian left the confinement space of New Naga and returned to the third dark realm. Moreover, it was nighttime, and there was thick devouring slurry everywhere like mercury. At the same time, the moment Yang Dingtian passed through, the space portal in New Naga turned into ashes and disappeared completely. Recalling what the Demon King Wentian said, Yang Dingtian immediately released the void-splitting fire. Sure enough, the feeling of energy flowing away immediately stopped. Moreover, the devouring slurry within a few meters of the void-splitting fire was turned into ashes. Yang Dingtian's surroundings had instantly turned into a clean space. This void-rending flame was indeed powerful. When he looked back, he could not see the existence of the New Naga space at all. It was correct to not see it because it was an isolated space, so in the real world, it was infinitely small. However, Yang Dingtian knew that it was actually beside him. Of course, if Yang Dingtian opened another space portal, he would not be able to go to New Naga, because Yang Dingtian did not know where its singularity was. The space portal could only be overlapped with it for Yang Dingtian to jump in. Otherwise, Yang Dingtian's space portal was completely infinite, and it would be very difficult to jump in accurately. Therefore, if Yang Dingtian wanted to enter New Naga, there was only one way, and that was to fall into outer space again and find the entrance to the black hole vortex in New Naga. Once he entered, he would immediately be swallowed into the confinement space of New Naga. He took one last look at the invisible singularity of New Naga in this space and then turned to leave. He had no interest in moving forward in the thick liquid. Thus, he used the mystic flame to spurt out and continuously flew upwards. After flying for 2,000 miles, they finally rushed out of the devouring slurry and arrived in the vacuum. He raised his head and saw the tranquil night sky again. Yang Dingtian identified the direction and then used the mystic flame to fly in the direction of the second dark domain. In a vacuum, the speed of Yang Dingtian's mysterious fire was already very shocking. It was several times faster than the speed of sound and could travel several thousand miles per hour. About 10 hours later, Yang Dingtian's mystic flame spurted out and flew for tens of thousands of miles. The abyss leading to the second dark domain was already in sight. At this moment, Yang Dingtian's profound qi had yet to be exhausted. Breaking through to the half-step sage realm was indeed different. Previously, Yang Dingtian's Xian flame could only fly for more than 5,000 kilometers before his Xian qi would be exhausted. But now it was more than 2 to 3 times. However, there was still some Xian qi left. Looking at the border of the abyss, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt a very familiar feeling. He released the void-splitting fire and quickly devoured and refined the energy of the border of the abyss. The void-splitting fire began to split and split into countless black and white flames that filled the entire border of the abyss. Then, it began to fuse into a transparent void-splitting fire. The entire border of the abyss turned into a transparent crystal. Yang Dingtian suddenly leaped in and once again enjoyed the space-time traversing and the bizarre feeling. A moment later, he suddenly passed through the border of the abyss and arrived at the third dark domain. The familiar third dark domain was completely scorching hot. The light from the 2 suns made it impossible to see anything. Yang Dingtian quickly put on his sunglasses and then used his near-emperor-grade soul sword to start digging a deep cave. After digging a few hundred meters, Yang Dingtian recovered his Xian qi in the cave and began to absorb Xian qi. Soon he completely recovered his combat Xian qi. Yang Dingtian was not in a hurry to return to the surface to find Yao Li and the rest. Instead, he closed his eyes to rest. That was because Yang Dingtian felt that Yao Li's team would not come out to hunt during the day. After waiting for a few hours, it should be dawn. Because the surrounding temperature was rapidly dropping, Yang Dingtian left the cave and returned to the surface. Then he continued to head south and released the million-spirit demonic fire's infinite wraiths to search for any energy fluctuations. Because, whether it was elemental creatures or fox demon experts, as long as there was any movement, the countless wraiths would be affected. Just like that, Yang Dingtian searched an area of more than 100 miles each time. Just like that, he searched the area one by one. An entire night passed, but the countless wraiths did not move at all. Yang Dingtian was instantly flabbergasted. For the entire night, Yang Dingtian had searched the entire area within a radius of over 1,000 miles, but there wasn't any movement. This also meant that he didn't discover any demon fox race experts, nor did he discover any elemental creatures. When it was almost daytime, Yang Dingtian sat down cross-legged to recover his Xian qi. Then, under the baking of 2 days, when the entire world was red and melting, Yang Dingtian searched again. If there was no harvest during the day, perhaps there would be at night. In the end, an entire day passed and there was still no harvest. He did not find any elemental creatures, nor did he find any fox demon experts. Yang Dingtian was flabbergasted. How long had it been since he left the second dark realm? It had been almost 8 months. Could it be that one day in the new Naga's confinement space was equivalent to a month or a year outside? Otherwise, why was there not a single ghost in the second dark realm? Soon enough, Yang Dingtian threw away this ridiculous thought. It was impossible. This wasn't heaven and earth, and it wasn't interstellar transmigration or anything like that. Then why was there not a single ghost in sight? It should be the result of the Great Fission. That disaster had caused 90% of the elemental creatures in the second dark realm to be annihilated. The remaining 10% of elemental creatures had probably been hiding underground for a long time, unwilling to come out. If that was the case, the fox demon experts had no hope of hunting and could not leave. Then there was only one result. The first possibility was internal strife. The second possibility was that they were all hiding underground, entering deep sleep and meditation, waiting for the door of darkness to open in the skull hall. However, that would take more than 190 years. If that was the case, it was normal that there was not a single ghost. In that case, Yao Li was very likely waiting in the original cave for Yang Dingtian to return. It was either the 4-room, 2-hall cave that the Moro young master Yao Leng had snatched, or the 2-room cave later. Those 2 caves should be in the center of the second dark realm. Thus, Yang Dingtian took advantage of the darkness and immediately ran toward the center of the second dark realm at full speed. Yang Dingtian ran very quickly, covering nearly 1,000 kilometers in an hour. Even so, it took him 2 days and 2 nights to reach the center of the second dark realm. After more than 40 hours, Yang Dingtian reached the center of the second dark realm near the 4-room, 2-hall cave that he had dug. Of course, because of the Great Fission, the underground cave had been completely destroyed, but it was more or less in the same direction. When he was more than 100 kilometers away, Yang Dingtian did not dare to let his guard down. He released countless wraiths to investigate. As expected, he soon discovered an unprecedentedly strong energy fluctuation. Thus, Yang Dingtian cautiously made his way toward the source of the energy fluctuation. When Yang Dingtian arrived at that place, he was immediately stunned. There was actually a huge castle standing here. When did this happen? This was the second dark realm. The ground would be melted by the heat of day and night. A castle built on the ground would be melted by the heat of day and night and would collapse. However, Yang Dingtian soon discovered that the castle was not made of stone, but a metal that glowed with blue light. It had a very high melting point, and even 2 days would not be enough to melt it. Not only was there a castle, but there were also guards on the castle. They were all elites of the Fox clan, and they were on full alert. Yang Dingtian was instantly flabbergasted. What exactly did this mean? Could it be that because they could not hunt elemental creatures, someone decided to establish a regime here? Yang Dingtian immediately entered the castle to see if he could find Yao Li, Yao Zi, and the others. He searched every corner of the castle, but did not find Yao Li, Yao Zi, Bo Lu, Ah Wen, or Ah Wu. There were more than 100 Fox clan members in the castle. Soon Yang Dingtian knew whose castle this was. It was the castle of the young master of the Moro clan, Yao Leng. This was because Yang Dingtian saw him on the throne of the castle. There was oxygen in the castle because there were pills everywhere, and the air was steaming. Have the people we sent out not found Yao Li yet? Yao Leng asked. Not yet, young master. A half-saint beside him bowed and said, however, we have a general direction. However, Yao Ming has also sent out many elites to find Yao Li and the others. Yao Leng said, we must not let Yao Ming catch Yao Li and the others, or the consequences will be unimaginable. The half-saint said, then what should we do if the 2 sides meet and fight for Yao Li? Yao Leng said, even if we have to fight, we must take Yao Li back. The half-saint said, I will go immediately. Then, the half-saint left, and only Yao Leng was left in the castle hall. He sat on the cold iron chair, looked up at the roof, and muttered to himself, Sir Yang Ding, where are you? I really miss you. How good would it be if you were here? Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be surprised. That was not to the extent of missing him. Although he and Yao Leng had become friends, and both sides appreciated each other, it was not to the extent of missing him. This time, Yang Dingtian was preparing something in the second dark realm. He did not interfere in any battles and directly found Yao Li and the others, then immediately left and returned to the human countries. Chapter 869. Just like this, Yang Dingtian prepared to leave the castle immediately to look for Yao Li and Yao Zi sisters. Right at this moment, another Fox clan expert came in and said, Young master, the prospective wife is in great danger. She vomited black blood again. I'm afraid she won't live for long. Yao Leng trembled suddenly, his face twitching as he said in a cold voice, Yao Ming, I must take revenge for this. Yang Dingtian was stunned when he heard this. When did Yao Leng have a prospective wife? Wasn't he always infatuated with Jia? Then, Yao Leng immediately got up and went to see his so-called prospective wife. His prospective wife was underground. Yang Dingtian turned invisible and followed him into the underground cave. The top of this castle was no longer big, but the bottom was even bigger with many caves. Coming into a cave, Yang Dingtian immediately smelled a pungent medicinal smell. In the entire castle, this room was considered the best condition. At least, there was a lot of silk and a thin blanket. Very soon, Yang Dingtian saw Yao Lung's so-called prospective wife. He recognized this woman at a glance. She was from the Shadow Spear clan and could be considered Jia's cousin. Although she wasn't as beautiful as Jia, there were some similarities. What was her name again? It seemed to be Yaomi. Yao Lung should love the house and its crow. Because he was infatuated with Jia, he got together with this Yaomi. Furthermore, this Yaomi was following the Golden clan's young master Yao Ming at that time. However, because Yao Ming was unfair, Yao Lung revealed the demeanor of a leader at the crucial moment. Therefore, Yaomi chose to leave Yao Ming's team and joined Yao Lung's side. It was also because of these various reasons that Yao Lung got together with her and became a prospective husband and wife. However, this Yaomi was poisoned by some unknown poison. Her entire skin was purple, and the blood flowing out of the corner of her mouth was also black. Her breathing was weak. Clearly, she didn't have long to live. Looking at her face that was somewhat similar to Jia's, Yang Dingtian's heart softened and wanted to appear to save her. He should be able to save her. This was clearly a material poison and not a mental poison. Yang Dingtian's blood could cure hundreds of poisons. However, Yang Dingtian held himself back. Right now, the most important thing was to find Yao Li and the others. Then he would immediately leave this troublesome place. Once he showed himself, he might bring trouble. As for bringing Yao Lung back to the human nations, or even letting Yao Lung help in the Great War of Extinction, Yang Dingtian had no such thoughts. Yao Lung was involved in too many fox demon experts. He wasn't pure at all. It was impossible to drag him along to the human countries. It was impossible to get them to help in the battle. Instead, it would only bring about disaster. Yao Li, Yao Zi, and the others were an absolutely pure group. Moreover, they had been with Yang Dingtian for a year or two. They trusted him with their lives and had absolute trust in him. That was why Yang Dingtian dared to pull them into the Council of Light. Therefore, Yang Dingtian could only harden his heart and turn around to leave. Yang Dingtian turned invisible and left the castle to search for Yao Li, and the others. Just as he left the castle not far away, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt an incomparably powerful energy fluctuation. Immediately after, he saw a figure flying over quickly. Yang Dingtian immediately stopped. This figure whizzed over, and the direction just happened to be that castle. Not only that, but there was also a familiar elemental creature lying on his body. A demon spirit, a rank 18 demon spirit. This demon spirit directly lay on his shoulder and chattered endlessly, but did not kill him. His speed was very fast, but Yang Dingtian still vaguely remembered that this was the trusted aide of the Golden clan's young lord, Yao Ming. He was also an expert above half-sage. Really strange, why did the demon spirit not kill him? Instead, he lay on his shoulder as if he had become his pet. Very soon Yang Dingtian thought of the reason. He had evil spirit energy on him. This was the only reason. However, Yang Dingtian had already given the 4th grade evil spirit energy to Yao Li. Why would it fall into Yao Ming's hands? Why would Yao Ming's half-sage trusted aide bring a rank 18 demon spirit to Yao Lung's castle? Yang Dingtian quickly figured it out. It was for a massacre. That's right, he used this rank 18 demon spirit to lure Yao Lung's castle to start a massacre and wipe out all of Yao Lung's people. How vicious was that? How vicious was this demonic cry? Moreover, after the Great Fission, how did Yao Ming find this rank 18 demon spirit? Now, Yang Dingtian was most concerned about Yao Li. What happened to Yao Zi? A rank 4 demon spirit actually fell into Yao Ming's hands. What did this mean? No matter how much of a beast Yao Ming was, he shouldn't be so vicious to his own sister, right? Yang Dingtian was suddenly a little anxious. Yao Li, Bo Lu, and the others were not only his biggest helpers in the future. The most important thing was that after spending 1 or 2 years together, Yang Dingtian completely regarded them as his best friends. However, The most dangerous thing now should be Yao Lung's castle. This rank 18 demon spirit was enough to wipe out all of the Fox clan experts in the castle. Then should Yang Dingtian go back and save them? Facing Jia's cousin, Yang Dingtian could harden his heart and not save her. However, facing 100 or 200 Fox clan experts, Yang Dingtian really couldn't harden his heart. One had to know that most of them had fought side by side with Yang Dingtian before. They even offered their energy essence for Yang Dingtian to break through. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian still couldn't leave them in the lurch. Therefore, he immediately went back at full speed. By the time Yang Dingtian returned to Yao Lung Castle, the massacre of the rank 18 demon spirit had already begun. As for Yao Ming's half-saint confidant, after luring the demon spirit to Yao Lung Castle, he had already disappeared. Yang Dingtian didn't know how he got rid of this rank 18 demon spirit and lured its attention to the Fox clan experts in Yao Lung Castle. In short, the massacre of Yao Lung's subordinates by the rank 18 demon spirit had already begun. At this moment, Yao Lung had already organized all the experts to kill this rank 18 demon spirit together. However, this demon spirit's speed was simply too fast. They couldn't hit it at all. Therefore, the entire scene was a one-sided massacre. Countless demonic fox experts were torn to shreds before being devoured alive. The entire special metal castle seemed to have turned into hell. The Golden clan's young lord, Yao Ming, was truly vicious. He actually wanted to wipe out Yao Lung's group once and for all. They were all born from the same father. There was a world of difference between him and Yao Li and Yao Zi. If Yang Dingtian didn't make a move to save them, all the demon fox race experts in this castle would be wiped out. This was because Yao Lung's 100 over experts didn't even have the strength to fight back. Of course, Yang Dingtian didn't have any more evil spirit energy on him. Therefore, he couldn't attract the demon spirit's attention. However, he still had one more trump card. That was the rank 19 demon spirit pet. It was the rank 19 demon spirit whose limbs were cut off and whose eyes were blindfolded. At that time, it was lying on Yang Dingtian's shoulder and refused to leave. Later on, Yang Dingtian wanted to go to the third dark realm. He couldn't bring it across the border of the abyss. Therefore, Yang Dingtian directly used the energy cloak to wrap it up and put it into his spatial ring. Fortunately, when the Naga Shuang devoured the Hell Magic Crystal, she didn't devour this rank 19 demon spirit as well. After Yang Dingtian appeared, Yao Lung's group was stunned. Then they were overjoyed. Before they could greet him, Yang Dingtian directly threw out this rank 19 demon spirit that didn't have any limbs or claws and didn't have any lethality. As expected, the same kind was the greatest enemy. That rank 18 demon spirit that was slaughtering was shocked. Then, it immediately flashed over and stared at this rank 19 demon spirit. Then, the two demon spirits suddenly became the greatest enemies and began to kill each other crazily. Of course, Yang Dingtian's rank 19 demon spirit pet didn't have any attack power. It could only roar crazily as if its limbs were still there. As for that rank 18 demon spirit, it used its sharp claws to attack the rank 19 demon spirit. However, Yang Dingtian's pet was now a body of energy. No matter how sharp its claws were, they couldn't cause any damage. Therefore, the two incomparably powerful demon spirits began to attack each other crazily. However, they couldn't cause any damage at all. This scene reminded Yang Dingtian of a very funny emoticon when he was chatting on QQ back on Earth. Two Pikachu were crazily slapping each other in the face. Yang Dingtian stepped forward and pulled out his near-emperor grade soul sword. He injected the million spirit demon fire and void-rending fire into it. Then he wildly attacked the rank 18 demon spirit's limbs. If it was in the past, this would definitely take a lot of effort and who knows how long it would take. But now, in just a little more than a quarter of an hour, Yang Dingtian cut off the limbs of this rank 18 demon spirit. Then, he quickly wrapped its eyes with an energy cloth. Suddenly, this rank 18 demon spirit could only be reduced to a pet without any attack power. The remaining rank 19 demon spirit was already chattering non-stop as if its claws were still attacking crazily. Yang Dingtian used his energy cloak to wrap it up. "Mr. Yang Dingtian?" Then he heard Yao Lung's excited cry. He rushed over and hugged Yang Dingtian tightly. Then he patted Yang Dingtian's back hard and said, finally see you again. We missed you very much. I didn't expect you to save us again. You saved us again. Yang Dingtian smiled slightly. Yao Leng let go of Yang Dingtian, then led all his subordinates and bowed to Yang Dingtian in an orderly manner. Thank you, Mr. Yang Dingtian, for saving our lives. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, Mr. Yao Leng, gentlemen, I trust you have been well since we last met. Then, Yang Dingtian handed the rank 18 demon spirit in his hand to Yao Leng and said, Yao Ming may use the same vicious trick in the future. This rank 18 shadow demon is for you. It should be able to resist the slaughter of all the demon spirits. Yao Leng was slightly stunned and said, Mr. Yang Ding, this is equivalent to a rank 18 energy essence. Yang Dingtian said, in comparison, the lives of more than 100 demon foxes are much more valuable. Yao Leng received it and bowed deeply, saying, the demon foxes thank Mr. Yang Dingtian for his great kindness. Yang Dingtian said, then I will take my leave. I still have to look for Yao Li and Yao Zi. Chapter 870. Sir, please wait. Yao Leng said, you'll be weak if you go alone. Why don't you stay here first? We'll come up with a plan to find or rescue Yao Li and her sister. It might be better to be careful. Yang Dingtian could conceal himself, so there was no need for too many people. However, he thought of Jia's cousin Yao Mi. Since she had already shown up, why not save her? Thus, Yang Dingtian nodded and stayed for the time being. Yang Dingtian instantly became a distinguished guest in the castle. The castle's reserves were very, very few. Almost everyone survived by consuming pills. There was also some fresh food, but it was brought from Little Western Paradise a few years ago. It was all stored in special crystal boxes to keep it fresh. It was almost never used. Even Yao Leng couldn't bear to eat it. However, at the banquet for Yang Dingtian, in front of him, there was a plate of fruits, a plate of meat, and a full bottle of wine. In front of others, there was at most a small cup of wine. Even in front of Yao Leng, there was only a small plate of snacks. The banquet for him to entertain Yang Dingtian was already very sumptuous. How could Yang Dingtian be willing to eat it? He said to put it back, but Yao Leng said that if he took it out and put it back, it would spoil. Thus, Yang Dingtian wanted to share it with everyone, but no one was willing. Thus, Yang Dingtian didn't argue and ate the plate of barbecued meat in front of him. During the banquet, Yang Dingtian deliberately asked, Sir Yao Leng, in the battle between you and Yao Ming of the Golden Horn clan, which side did the Shadow Spear clan stand on? Yao Leng said, Yao Nu's son, Yao Yi, stands on Yao Ming's side. His niece, Yao Mi, stands on my side. Moreover, she has already become my woman. Yang Dingtian immediately said, then congratulations. He raised his wine cup to celebrate, then said with a smile, why don't I see Miss Yao Mi today? Could it be that Sir Yao Leng is hiding a mistress? Yao Leng said bitterly, Sir Yang Dingtian, you must be joking. Miss Yao Mi, I'm afraid she doesn't have long to live. Yang Dingtian asked in shock, why is that? Yao Leng said angrily, being poisoned is the work of that beast, Yao Ming. He coveted Jia but failed, so he set his sights on Yao Mi. In the end, Miss Yao Mi favored me, so he ruthlessly dealt with me. Yang Dingtian said angrily, this bastard is actually so vicious? Then, Yang Dingtian said, I also have some insights into the use of poison. Why don't you take me to see if there's still a chance to salvage the situation? Yao Leng was pleasantly surprised. Really? Yang Dingtian nodded. Yao Leng immediately stood up from his seat in excitement, cupped his hands, and said, if Your Excellency Yang Dingtian is able to save Miss Yao Mi, then Yao Leng will be indescribably grateful. Then he led the way in front, bringing Yang Dingtian into the secret underground room, to the room where Yao Mi was. In a mere 2 to 4 hours, Yao Mi's complexion already became even worse. She was practically unconscious already. Yao Leng was originally filled with hope, but seeing her appearance of being on the verge of death, he did not dare to have any hope and immediately said, for sir to come and take a look, I'm already incomparably grateful. No matter what the result is, I'll remember sir's kindness. Yang Dingtian nodded and pretended to take Yao Mi's pulse. Really weak, practically unable to feel the existence of a pulse. Then he flipped Yao Mi's eyes. It was already infiltrated very severely by the poison, and her pupils were about to scatter. She was really going to die very soon. Furthermore, her entire body was thoroughly ice cold, not much better than ice. Her entire body already turned from black to blue. And seeing Yang Dingtian's actions, Yao Leng immediately did not even dare to breathe loudly. Looking at Yang Dingtian's actions, he immediately felt that it was profound and mysterious. After acting, Yang Dingtian nodded and said, I can try, but what the result will be, I dare not guarantee. Yao Leng said, please, please. No matter what the result is, I'll be incomparably grateful. Yang Dingtian did not want others to see that his blood could be detoxified. Hence, he said, however, Your Excellency Yao Leng, please leave. Although Yao Leng was very grateful to him and was very enthusiastic, one must not be without vigilance. Yao Leng was stunned, then nodded and said, all right, then I'll be outside. If sir needs anything, just call out directly. Okay, Yang Dingtian said. Then, Yao Leng retreated and closed the stone door. Inside the entire stone room, only Yang Dingtian and Yao Mi, two people were left. Yang Dingtian took out a needle and inserted it into his arm's blood vessel, drawing out a bit of fresh blood. Of course, whether Yang Dingtian's blood was really useful or not, he did not know. He used his blood to save Zhao Mu and also saved Dongfang Bingling. But what they were inflicted with was ice-cold poison. It was true that Yang Dingtian's entire body had been tempered by the deep-sea mystic poison. But if it could not be detoxified, it was also possible that this needle would poison Yao Mi to death. However, since Yao Mi was already like this, he might as well treat it as a living horse. Yang Dingtian found the location of her heart and directly inserted this needle, then injected the blood inside into her heart. In just a moment, Yao Mi's body suddenly trembled violently trembling, then a painful sound came from her throat. Immediately after, a lot of black blood and blue blood spurted out regardless. This intense reaction made Yang Dingtian jump in fright. And Yao Leng, who was outside, also immediately rushed in. Piv! Yao Mi suddenly sat up abruptly, then suddenly spat out a piece of solidified blue blood clot, then suddenly lay down on the bed again. Then, her breathing actually gradually became stronger, and the color of her skin actually gradually recovered its snow-white color. She was actually saved. Yao Leng was completely and utterly shocked, completely in awe. Immediately, she bowed deeply to Yang Dingtian and said, Mr. is really a god. Alright, then I should leave. Yang Dingtian said, Mr. Yao Leng, goodbye. Yao Leng immediately stopped Yang Dingtian. Mister, you are our great benefactor, how can you just leave like this? No, we must repay you well and serve you well. I know you are very worried about Yao Li and Yao Zi sisters. I will send all the experts out to search. How about that? There is no need for that. I can go by myself. Yang Dingtian replied. No, definitely not. Yao Leng immediately grabbed Yang Dingtian's arm and said, Mister, if you just leave like this, Yao Leng will definitely feel uneasy. Yang Dingtian smiled and said seriously, it is better to forget each other in the pugilistic world than to help each other in times of need. There was still a smile on Yao Leng's face, but her gaze became serious and she said, Actually, I have something to ask of you. Yang Dingtian's gaze trembled slightly and he said, Mr. Yao Leng, please speak. Yao Leng said, As a human, you definitely did not enter the dark realm through the door of darkness in the Great Hall of Skulls, so there is only one way, which is to pass through the abyss border. May I be so bold as to ask how you came here? Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly jumped, and he said with a smile, What if I say it is not convenient for me to answer? Yao Leng took 3 steps back and bowed deeply and said, After the great fission, the entire dark realm has no harvest, only the shadow demon is unparalleled on the surface, we are already on the verge of death. Mister, please tell me how to pass through the abyss border for the sake of the hundreds of lives of the Fox clan, so that I can bring everyone back to Little Western Paradise. Mister's great kindness, the entire Little Western Paradise will never forget. Yang Dingtian fell into silence. Yao Leng had directly pointed out this point. Then could the void fire allow so many people to pass through the abyss border? Even if it could, should he really do it? In fact, if it was only to help these people return to Little Western Paradise, then it would not be a big problem. However, Yang Dingtian wanted Yao Li, Yao Zi, Bo Lu, and the others to stay in the human countries and help the Tiando League in the Great War of Extinction. They would help guard the door of the human countries. Moreover, once Yang Dingtian helped Yao Leng and the others return to Little Western Paradise, it was equivalent to letting Yongshi Wenyan know that he had obtained the void fire and that he had seen through him. At that time, Jia and her child might be in danger. After a long time, Yang Dingtian suddenly said, "Mr. Yao Leng, you sent people to look for Yao Li and Yao Zi not because you care about them, but because of me." Yang Dingtian now understood the meaning of Yao Leng's words when no one was around. He said how much he missed Yang Dingtian and how much it would be if Yang Dingtian was here. Yang Dingtian found it strange at that time. They were not that close, so how could he miss him? So, this was the reason. Yang Dingtian said seriously, "Mr. Yao Leng, what if it's not convenient for me to say?" Yao Leng said, "That's not important. Please stay and let me repay your kindness." Yang Dingtian said, "What if I insist on leaving?" Yao Leng said, "That's not the way to treat a guest. As the host, even if I have to force you to stay, I have to treat Mr. Yang Dingtian well." Yao Leng's face was still full of smiles, but his eyes were no longer smiling. He grabbed Yang Dingtian's arm and did not let go. When he looked up, the thick door in front of him had already closed. Yang Dingtian could not flash away even if he wanted to. Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly turned cold. Although he had already thought of this outcome, he didn't save Yao Mi when he was about to die. But when this situation really happened, he still felt cold all over. Yao Leng performed very well on the day of the Great Fission. He treated Yang Dingtian as a savior and provided Yang Dingtian with all his strength to break through. However, when everyone thought that the Great Fission was over and Yao Ming proposed to expel Yang Dingtian, he did not try to stop him. Today, Yang Dingtian saved hundreds of fox demons again and saved the life of his woman, Yao Mi. However, this did not stop Yao Leng from turning hostile for benefits. The fox demons were an advanced civilization, so this situation was very normal. However, Yang Dingtian still felt a chill down his spine. Yao Leng waved his hand, and 5 half-sages and above appeared. Then he said with a smile, "Mr. Yang Ding, how can you leave? You must be treated well, so I have no choice but to force you to stay." Then, the 5 15th, 16th, and 17th level experts immediately surrounded Yang Dingtian and locked onto Yang Dingtian's profound veins. "Mr. Yang Dingtian, please come to our most honorable room," Yao Leng said. Then, the 5 half-sages and above led Yang Dingtian into a stone room. There was a huge energy formation inside, forming an energy prison. It was very similar to the energy prison that imprisoned Yongshi Wenyan. "Mister, please be at ease and stay here as a guest. We will save Yao Li and Yao Zi with all our strength." Yao Leng bowed and left. As for the 5 half-saints, they also retreated. "The 5 of you serve Mr. Yang Dingtian well here," Yao Leng said loudly. "If he needs anything, you must satisfy it." "Yes," the 5 half-sages and above replied loudly. Then, they sat down and guarded the door. Yang Dingtian easily broke through the seal on his profound veins. Now, unless it was a demi-saint expert, no one would be able to lock onto Yang Dingtian's profound veins. Yao Leng only knew about Yang Dingtian's cultivation half a year ago. It was easy to break through the seal on his profound veins, but it was very difficult to break out of the energy prison. Yang Dingtian gave it a try. The moment he touched the energy wall, he was bounced back. The indestructible soul sword that was close to the emperor grade was also useless. Yang Dingtian tried to use the void-rending fire, but it was useless. Even the countless wraiths couldn't break out of the energy prison. He took a deep breath. This energy prison might be able to trap anyone, including Yongshi Wenyan. But now, it couldn't trap Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian released the darkness mystic flame and created a dark vortex. It turned into a black hole and started to isolate the space. Then he used the energy of the mystic flame to bombard the isolated space with a specific frequency to create a spatial door. Whoosh! Yang Dingtian jumped into the spatial door and jumped out of the energy prison. Then, Yang Dingtian shouted, "Men! What do you want, mister?" The half-sages outside asked. "I want to talk to Yao Lung." Yang Dingtian said, "Bring me there." A moment later, the thick stone door opened. The 5 half-sages entered, only to find that the energy prison was empty. Moreover, the entire stone room was empty. The 5 demon fox experts were completely stunned. What was going on? How did he disappear into thin air? Whoosh! Yang Dingtian turned invisible and immediately rushed out. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared without a trace. He rushed out of the underground, rushed out of Yao Lung's castle, and disappeared into the second dark domain. After Yao Lung received the news, he was like a bolt from the blue. Impossible, impossible. This energy prison is so powerful that no one can break through it. Although Yang Dingtian is very mysterious, his cultivation hasn't even broken through to the half-sages. Yao Lung said loudly, "Go and find him. Send out all the experts. Find him even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground." Then, all the experts in Yao Lung's castle came out in full force. Yao Lung sat on the metal throne. His eyes flashed with a strange light and said, "I must leave this place. I must leave this place and return to Little Western Paradise. No matter what the cost." 15 minutes later, Yang Dingtian appeared in the main hall of the castle again. He was not far away from Yao Lung. Of course, he was invisible. That's right, he was back again. He didn't go far. After leaving the castle, he lurked not far away. When Yao Lung sent out all the experts, he came back secretly. This was a typical story of the farmer and the snake. Although Yang Dingtian was mentally prepared, he still felt incomparably angry when it really happened. After suffering such a loss, it was impossible for him not to take revenge. Yang Dingtian stared at Yao Lung's face. He came in front of him invisible and pulled out his near-emperor grade soul sword. Then he suddenly flashed over. Poochie! Yao Lung only felt a chill in his crotch. Then he realized that the most important part of his man had disappeared. Suddenly, he let out an incomparably miserable scream. Yang Dingtian suddenly appeared. The near-emperor grade soul sword in his hand shook lightly. Yao Lung's man's thing was instantly shattered. Yao Lung desperately covered his vital parts. He looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief and said hoarsely, Yang Dingtian said slowly, "If you didn't forcefully imprison me and just asked me to take you away, I might have agreed. But you actually dared to forcefully imprison me. You're really courting death." Yao Lung said with a fierce face, "I've always been such a person. Don't you know? Could it be that because we appreciated each other and fought side by side, we became close friends? You're too naive." Yang Dingtian said with a smile, "So I'm here to clean up the future trouble." "Are you my opponent? Although you castrated me, you're still not my opponent." Yao Lung completely isolated himself from the pain. Then he pulled out his sharp sword and said slowly, "Since we've torn our faces, it's good. Hand over the method to pass through the abyss border." Pa! Yang Dingtian suddenly struck down with a devil sky-splitting lightning. Suddenly, Yao Lung trembled. His entire body was completely paralyzed, and he was completely unable to move. Pa 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 pa! Yang Dingtian's devil sky-splitting lightning struck down crazily. Yao Lung's body was completely charred black. He trembled crazily and howled crazily. You broke through the 15th rank?" Yao Lung pointed at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. His voice was completely hoarse. "Yes." Yang Dingtian said, "Although in terms of cultivation, you're a little higher than me. But I can easily crush those of the same level as me. You're no exception. Originally, the hatred between you and me was not to the point of killing you. But in order to avoid future trouble, I'd better kill you." Crackle, 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 crackle. Yang Dingtian's devil sky-splitting lightning struck down with incomparable ferocity. Directly, Yao Lung's entire body was completely burned into a pile of charcoal. At this moment, a scream suddenly came from behind him. It was Yao Mi, the Yao Mi that he had just saved not long ago. Yang Dingtian tightened his grip on the sword in his hand, and he immediately wanted to kill her. But after thinking about it, he gave up. Anyway, she couldn't leave the Dark Realm for 200 years. Yang Dingtian nodded at Yao Mi and felt that an expert was approaching quickly. He directly turned invisible and used the Demon Spirit Mist Cloak Flash technique. He left the castle like lightning and instantly disappeared without a trace. Chapter 871. Following that, Yang Dingtian searched for Yao Li and the others in the vast Second Dark Realm. Of course, he was also looking for Yao Ming's lair. After a day and a night, Yang Dingtian searched for thousands of miles but still could not find Yao Li, Yao Zi, and the others. The situation was indeed much more complicated than Yang Dingtian had expected. Because there was no harvest in the Second Dark Realm, it had turned this place into a huge prison. The Fox Clan's experts were unable to harvest anything here. Then, they knew that Yang Dingtian had a way to travel through the border of the abyss, so both sides tried their best to find Yang Dingtian. Then Yao Li and the others became the best hostages. From that fourth-grade evil spirit, he could roughly guess that Yao Li and the others had fallen into the hands of her brother, Yao Ming. Sure enough, after 2 days and 2 nights, Yang Dingtian found Yao Ming's lair 7,000 miles to the west. Unlike Yao Lung, Yao Ming's lair did not have a castle. It was directly underground. What was exposed outside was only an entrance guarded by experts. Soon enough, Yang Dingtian knew that Yao Li and Yao Zi were in the lair of the Golden Ah clan's Yao Ming. That was because Ah Wen's mystic meridians were directly locked, and then he was hung high on a metal flagpole. It was very obvious that this was done to attract Yang Dingtian. Yao Ming clearly wanted to let Yang Dingtian know that Yao Li and Yao Zi were in his hands. This was not even a trap. He just wanted to find Yang Dingtian. Sure enough, there were a few words engraved on the thick flagpole. Your Excellency Yang Dingtian, welcome for a chat. It was directly written in the common language of the human countries. Yang Dingtian noticed that the entrance was not only guarded by experts, but it was also tightly shut. It was impossible to sneak in to save people. That would be walking right into a trap. Unless Yang Dingtian had a high-level devil spirit that he could let in for a massacre. Yang Dingtian could take advantage of the chaos to enter and save people. But Yang Dingtian quickly gave up on the idea. He wasn't a demon lord. Even if these people were fox demons, he couldn't just let the demon spirit go in and kill them. Furthermore, when Mo Ling started his massacre, no matter who it was, even Yao Li and Yao Zi were killed together. He couldn't sneak in to save people, and he couldn't let Mo Ling in to slaughter them either. Then the only way was to have a talk with Yao Ming. Of course, they would talk in the vast dark realm outside, and Yao Ming could only send one person. In that case, Yang Dingtian wouldn't be in any danger. Yao Ming was much older than Yao Qi and had been a half-saint for a long time. However, Yang Dingtian wasn't afraid of him now. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian appeared. Very soon, the 4 half-saints guarding the entrance of the lair noticed. They were shocked, but they didn't chase after them. One of them quickly entered the lair to inform Yao Ming. When Ah Wen, who was on the flagpole, saw Yang Dingtian, he suddenly became very excited and shouted, "Mr. Yang Dingtian, go, go." Of course, this was a vacuum, and his voice couldn't be transmitted. Yang Dingtian directly used his celestial chi energy to transmit his voice over. Your young master wants to talk with me, so let's talk. Only he can come alone. As long as anyone follows him, I'll immediately disappear without a trace. You should know that it's harder than ascending to heaven to catch me on the ground. After one of the half-saints heard this, he immediately entered the lair and reported Yang Dingtian's words to Yao Ming. After only a quarter of an hour, Yao Ming appeared on the ground. Sure enough, he was alone. When he saw Yang Dingtian, a smile appeared on his face. As he walked, he said, "Mr. Yang Dingtian, I trust you've been well since we last met. 8 months ago, I was really ignorant and offended you. I apologize to you here." Well said, Yang Dingtian said. Yao Ming said, "Mr. Yang Dingtian, are you coming from Yao Lung's side?" I advise you not to trust him. Although he acted selflessly on the Great Fission Day, he learned it from Yao Qi. He hates Yao Qi, but he's always seen her as a role model. He's still a selfish and vicious person at the bottom of his heart. Yang Dinghan nodded and said, I'll figure this out myself. Yao Ming quickly arrived in front of Yang Dingtian. The two of them were about 10 meters apart. Yang Dinghan said, What do you want, Mr. Yao Ming? What do you want in order to release Yao Li, Yao Zi, Bo Lu, Awen, and Awu? Yao Ming said, I'll get straight to the point. My condition is very simple. I heard that you can cross the border of the abyss? Yes. Yang Dingtian nodded. That's your specialty. I won't ask how you did it. Yao Ming said, I know that this world is divided into the first dark realm, second dark realm, third dark realm, fourth dark realm, and even above, right? Yang Dingtian nodded. Yao Ming said, My condition is very simple. Help us go to the third dark realm, and I'll release Yao Li, Yao Zi, and the others. Yang Dingtian was stunned. He thought that Yao Ming, like Yao Lung, wanted to find a way to cross the border of the abyss and return to the Little Western Paradise. He didn't expect Yao Ming to be even more ambitious. He actually wanted to go to the third dark realm. Yang Dingtian immediately said, You want to go to the third dark realm to cultivate? Yao Ming nodded and said, Of course. Otherwise, would we have nothing to do for the past 200 years? Of course, we can return to the Little Western Paradise, but there's nothing to do in the Little Western Paradise. Yang Dingtian said, But how can you be sure that you can break through the third dark realm? Maybe it's very dangerous there, and you can't cultivate at all. Yao Ming smiled and said, Let me ask you. Have you been to the third dark realm? Yang Dinghan was silent for a moment, then nodded and said, I have. Yao Ming said, Then have you broken through? Yang Dingtian nodded again and said, I've broken through to the 15th rank. Yao Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. He smiled and said, Since you can break through, it proves that the third dark realm is very promising. Yang Dingtian said, But how can you be sure that if I can cultivate there, you can too? Haha. Yao Ming laughed loudly and said, We're all stronger than you, and we're from the Fox clan of the demonic ghosts. You're just a human. If you can do it, why can't we? Then Yao Ming said, I know that in your heart, I'm just a villain. Then I'll tell you directly. As long as you let us enter the third dark realm, I'll give Yao Li, Bo Lu, Awen, and Awu to you. After all, they're my sisters. I can't really kill them. Yang Dinghan said, Then have you thought about how you'll come back? Yao Ming said, Didn't you hear me? I'll give Yao Li, Bo Lu, Awen, and Awu to you. Little Z will still have to follow us. So, after 30 years, you'll have to come and get us. This Yao Ming had considered everything thoroughly. But how could he be sure that Yang Dingtian wouldn't die an unnatural death within these 30 years? After all, the Armageddon War was about to begin. How about it? Sir Yang Dinghan, do you accept this deal? Yao Ming asked. Yes, I have no other choice. Yang Dingtian said. An hour later, Yang Dingtian saw Yao Li, Yao Zi, Bo Lu, and Awu again. Immediately, the bodies of several people trembled. Seeing him again after more than half a year, they were incomparably emotional. However, the two sides didn't have any chance to communicate. Yang Dingtian also kept a distance from Yao Ming's team. He definitely wouldn't let himself be surrounded. Yao Ming led 13 half-step saints and above, along with Yang Dingtian, Yao Li, Yao Zi, and the other hostages, directly north to the abyss border. This group of people traveled thousands of miles in a day, constantly going north. Yang Dingtian was always on guard and kept an absolute distance from Yao Ming's team. Just like that, after a few days and nights, they traveled tens of thousands of miles and arrived at the northern end of the second dark realm. Yang Dingtian once again arrived at the abyss border. At the end of the abyss border was the third dark realm. Yang Dingtian really didn't expect that there would be a time when he would return to the abyss border. Let's begin, Sir Yang Dingtian. Let's see your wonderful performance. Yao Ming smiled. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and began to release the void-splitting fire directly at the abyss border. Suddenly, a beautiful scene appeared. The void-splitting fire began to split, split, and split. It became countless black and white flames, filling the entire abyss border. Yao Ming and the others were completely suffocated. They looked at all this in disbelief. Then, these black and white flames began to fuse and become transparent flames. Suddenly, the entire abyss border became transparent like crystal. Yao Ming and the others were completely dumbfounded. Yang Dingtian said, "Okay, the abyss border has evolved. You can go over. Let go of Yao Li and Yao Zi." Yao Ming gasped for breath. Even though there was no air here, he suppressed the excitement in his heart and smiled at Yang Dingan. "In order for us to be at ease, I would like to invite Sir Yang Dingan to follow us." Yang Dingtian frowned slightly and said, "Yao Ming, you can't let me go, right?" Of course, if Yang Dingtian went back, how would Yao Ming and the others leave the third dark realm and return to the Little Western Paradise? Come pick them up 30 years later? Was that a lie? Yao Ming immediately chuckled, and then he placed his sword against Yao Li's neck and said, "No matter what, you don't have a choice, right? If you don't come with us, Yao Li and Yao Zi will die." Yang Dingan said, "She's your sister?" Yao Ming shrugged and said, "It doesn't matter." Yao Li's eyes almost split open and she said loudly, "Yang Ding, go, go. Otherwise, I'll die in front of you." Yang Dingtian fell silent, and then he said, "Yao Ming, I can go to the third dark realm with you, but you must let Yao Li and Yao Zi go." Yao Ming smiled and said, "That's impossible. You won't listen if I let them go. You can flash, so who can catch you?" Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, "Since it's like that, then kill them. I won't submit." Yao Ming's face suddenly twitched, and then he smiled. "How about this? I can let Yao Zi, Bo Lu, Lun, and Su go. However, Yao Zi must stay behind with us. What do you think? I must have a hostage that can control you." Yao Ming was very smart, and he immediately noticed that Yao Li was the most important to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingan thought for a while, and then he nodded, "All right, let them go." Yao Ming waved his hand and said, "Let them go." In an instant, over a dozen half-saints released Bo Lu and the others from their shackles. On the other hand, Yao Ming personally grabbed Yao Li's arm. Bo Lu spoke slowly, "Your Excellency Yang Dingan, we'll stay together if we stay, and we'll leave together if we leave." Yao Zi spoke loudly, "Right, if worst comes to worst, we'll die together." Yang Dingtian spoke word by word, "From now onward, I'm your new leader. So, obey my orders and leave immediately." Bo Lu instantly shuddered. Yang Dingan spoke word by word once more, "Leave. Immediately. This is an order." Bo Lu glanced deeply at Yang Dingtian, and then he didn't say another word before grabbing Yao Zi and dashing off swiftly. On the other hand, Wen and Wu glanced at Yang Dingtian before they dashed off as well. In the blink of an eye, all of them had vanished without a trace. "All right, Your Excellency Yang Dingan, please go ahead," said Yao Ming. Yang Dingan glanced at Yao Ming and laughed coldly in his heart, "Vicious idiot. If you want to die, then I'll grant you your wish." After that, Yang Dingtian didn't say another word and directly jumped into the purified abyss. When he saw Yang Dingtian jump down, Yao Ming immediately pulled Yao Li along and jumped down as well. The remaining half-saints all jumped down as well. Chapter 872. Of course, the best way was to snatch Yao Li from Yao Ming's hands when passing through the abyss border. However, no one could do this because when passing through the abyss border, one's entire body would fall into a very strange state. It was as if one was traveling through time and space, completely unable to move. Yang Dingtian's plan was to instantly enter the third dark realm because it was daytime there and there was a thick devouring fog everywhere. Once Yao Ming passed, all the energy in his body would be crazily devoured. In an instant, his reaction would be to protect himself. At that time, he would not be able to care about Yao Li at all. The dozen or so half-step saints who had been surrounding him could not care about him at all. At this moment, Yang Dingtian immediately made his move. He flashed and snatched Yao Li, then flashed away. As for Yao Ming and the dozen or so half-step saints, they would stay in the third dark realm. There was a saying that one would not die if one did not seek death. When passing through the abyss border, Time seemed to stop, so there was basically no concept of time. The first time would feel like a long, long time. And Yang Dingtian would have a general feeling and roughly know when the travel would end. When the travel was about to end, Yang Dingtian silently counted in his heart. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 1, 0. Yang Dingtian suddenly rushed out of the abyss border and arrived at the third dark realm. At this moment, there was a thick, devouring fog everywhere. Under the sunlight, the entire world was golden and could not see anything at all. Yang Dingtian held his breath and immediately enveloped his entire body with the void-rending fire to purify the surrounding illusion. In an instant, Yao Ming grabbed Yao Li's hand tightly and rushed out of the abyss border, suddenly appearing in this field of vision. The first time he entered the third dark realm, he was temporarily at a loss because he could not react in time. The feeling of traveling through time and space stopped. Then, he felt his body being devoured and constantly falling. He would fall into extreme fear. Almost everyone was no exception. This was because most people's reactions to the unknown were similar. Sure enough, after coming over, Yao Ming was temporarily at a loss. Then, he felt the energy in his body being devoured crazily. He cried out in anger and used his profound qi to desperately protect himself. Now was the time to make a move. So, Yang Dingtian suddenly flashed over. Like lightning, he directly snatched Yao Li away. Then, he used blink and instantly disappeared without a trace. At the same time, the dozen or so half-saints by Yao Ming's side had completed their teleportation and charged into the third dark domain. At this time, the edge of the abyss began to condense rapidly, and it was about to recover into a void-rending fire. Yao Ming felt his energy being devoured and Yao Li disappearing from his hand. He immediately knew that he had been tricked by Yang Dingtian. He was furious. If they chased after Yang Dingtian, they would soon be dead. Trying to catch up to Yang Dingtian in the third dark domain was simply a pipe dream. Of course, if they didn't chase after Yang Dingtian, they would be dead for sure. It was just a matter of time. In short, Yao Ming and the others were doomed because they did not have the spatial rending flame or an energy shield. Once all of their energy was devoured, it would be their time of death. At this time, Yang Dingtian had already disappeared without a trace. But what Yang Dingtian did not know was, Yao Ming did not chase after them, nor did he wait for death. Instead, he made an unexpected move. Whoosh! He suddenly jumped into the abyss border. That's right, he jumped back. At this time, the transparent spatial rending fire at the abyss border was rapidly shrinking and condensing. If he did that, it was very likely that he would be reduced to ashes. After seeing Yao Ming's action, the remaining dozen or so half-saints also jumped into the abyss border in an attempt to return to the second dark domain. Yao Ming succeeded. Before the spatial rending fire completely condensed and the abyss border completely recovered, he successfully returned to the second dark domain. It was a narrow escape. However, the dozen or so half-saints around him were not so lucky. Only 4 of them returned to the second dark domain in one piece. 4 of them were already badly mutilated. The remaining half were completely reduced to ashes. They did not even have a complete corpse. Yao Ming immediately gritted his teeth and said sternly, Yang Ding, I will definitely tear you to pieces. Yao Li Yao Zi, I will tear you to pieces. Tear you to pieces. He had always been confident in his cunning, but he did not expect to fall into Yang Dingtian's trap. He did go to the third dark domain, but he returned after half a fart's time. More than half of the half-saints around him had been killed. Now, he was completely at a disadvantage in his battle with Yao Lung. Yao Ming gritted his teeth and thought for a while. Yang Dingtian will definitely return to the second dark domain. We will patrol the abyss border. We must catch them. A half-saint beside him said hatefully, Young master, should we go to Yao Zi and Bo Lu? They must not have gone far. Yao Ming said, Are you an idiot? Right now, capturing Yang Dingtian is easier than capturing Bo Lu and Yao Zi. Then, Yao Ming led the remaining half-saints and quickly patrolled along the abyss border. They must encounter Yang Dingtian, then capture and torture him to death. Of course, Yao Ming could only dream on. After the void fissure fire at the abyss border completely condensed, it directly flew several hundred kilometers and re-entered Yang Dingtian's body. Meanwhile, Yang Dingtian had completely disregarded the mystic qi as he hugged Yao Li and constantly flashed towards the south. In an instant, he flashed 1,000 to 2,000 kilometers. The void fissure fire enveloped the two of them. Everywhere it passed, it purified any devouring fog. The two of them were safe and sound. Yao Li seemed to be a little embarrassed being hugged by Yang Dingtian like this, but she still stared at Yang Dingtian's face. They had not seen each other for more than half a year. When they met again, she was actually saved. This feeling was really very strange. Very soon, Yang Dingtian arrived at the abyss border 2,000 kilometers to the south. He released the void fissure fire to the abyss border once more. Immediately, the void fissure fire split apart again, splitting into countless black and white dual fires, then started condensing into transparent fire. The entire abyss border became transparent crystal, thoroughly purified. Yang Dingtian pulled Yao Li's hand and suddenly leaped, jumping into the abyss border. A moment later, Yang Dingtian leaped out of the abyss border and returned to the second dark domain. Then he did not stop at all, directly speeding toward the southern part of the second dark domain. Because when Yang Dingtian told Bo Lu and the rest to hurry up and leave just now, it was to have them go to the place where they met for the first time. Yang Dingtian used mouth movements. Yao Zi, Ah Wen, and Ah Wu did not notice. But Bo Lu clearly noticed it and immediately led the three of them to speed toward that place. Yang Dingtian brought Yao Li and swiftly flashed, heading toward the agreed place. His speed was so fast that it defied the natural order. Moreover, he did not care about the consumption of celestial qi at all, using the demonic spirit mist cloak's flash technique. When his celestial qi was exhausted, he immediately sat down cross-legged and used the mystic gathering pill to recover, while Yao Li stood guard beside him. Just like that, in just a few hours, Yang Dingtian actually caught up with Bo Lu and Yao Zi. They were still far from the rendezvous point, but he had caught up. Of course, this was not a chance encounter. In the vast dark domain, the probability of a chance encounter was almost zero. It was Yang Dingtian who calculated their route and roughly knew where they were, so he specifically chased after them. After meeting, Yao Zi shouted loudly, wanting to rush into Yang Dingtian's arms immediately. She completely ignored Yao Li's stern gaze. Yang Dingtian let her hug him for 2 seconds, then directly pulled her by the arm. Without any greetings, he quickly sped toward the south without any pause. Right now, the second dark domain was too chaotic and too complicated. Yang Dingtian had become the greatest enemy of both camps at the same time. They had to leave this place as soon as possible. If they encountered a large number of experts from both camps, Yang Dingtian might be able to escape, but if he wanted to escape with the 5 of them, it would not be so easy. Therefore, after meeting them, they only nodded and continued to run toward the south. As they ran, Yang Dingtian released countless wraith detection. If they encountered any energy fluctuations, they would immediately change their route to avoid them. This was because they were not elemental creatures, but fox demon experts from both camps. After a few days and nights, the 5 of them finally ran for tens of thousands of miles without sleep and rest. They arrived at the southern end of the second dark domain. In front of them was the border of the abyss. Passing through this border of the abyss was the first dark domain. Yang Dingtian, Yao Li, and Bo Lu looked at each other. Subsequently, Yang Dingtian turned to look at the second dark domain behind them and laughed. Now, even if you don't follow me back to the human kingdoms, the second dark domain has turned into a mess. Of course we'll go with you. Yao Zi grabbed Yang Dingtian's arm tightly and said, I want to follow you for the rest of my life. The days when you weren't around felt like years to me, so I've already confirmed my feelings. Yang Dingtian's mind automatically filtered out the childish words behind Yao Zi's words. The days felt like years to her, not because Yang Dingtian was not around, but because there was no harvest in the second dark domain. Everyone would feel the same way. Yao Li said, We've already sworn that we'll follow you and fight alongside you for the rest of our lives. Unfortunately, we haven't broken through to half-saint. Yang Dingtian sighed. In the future, It might be very, very difficult to break through to Half-Saint. Then Yang Dingtian released the Void Fissure Fire and entered the border of the abyss. The Void Fissure Fire quickly split and finally condensed into a transparent flame. Immediately, the border of the abyss was purified like a crystal. Are you ready? Follow me home, to my home, Yang Dingtian said. Your home is my home, Yao Zi hurriedly said. Yang Dingtian automatically filtered again and then jumped into the abyss. Yao Li, Yao Zi, Bo Lu and the others also jumped into the abyss and followed Yang Dingtian back to the human countries. Chapter 873. After entering the first dark realm, everyone was finally completely safe. Then, the 6 of them once again dug a deep cave with 4 rooms and 2 living rooms. They rested and chatted inside. The situation in the second dark realm was more serious than Yang Dingtian had imagined. Elemental creatures did not appear very rarely, but they did not appear at all. The only ones that appeared were demon spirits. However, every time it appeared, it meant a disaster. In the Great Fission, the only ones that were not affected were the demon spirits. After the Great Fission, many demon spirits came to the surface and dominated, killing countless people. Yao Li and the others listened to Yang Dingtian completely. After the Great Fission ended, Yao Leng warmly invited them to join, but Yao Li did not agree. Instead, she left resolutely. 3 days after the Great Fission ended, Yao Leng and Yao Ming's teams did not kill each other. However, 3 days later, they began to fight non-stop. However, this battle did not last very long because both sides could be considered to be evenly matched. Of course, there was something more important, and that was the extinction of elemental creatures. This was the most serious fact. This meant that hundreds of Fox Clan experts had to stay in the second dark realm without air and food for close to 200 years. This was a complete nightmare. They were martial artists, not meditators, nor artists. It was very difficult for them to pass the time. Later, both teams thought of Yang Dingtian. They thought that he was a human and did not come from the door of darkness. He must have passed through the border of the abyss. Therefore, both teams began to search for Yang Dingtian again. Although Yao Li and the others tried their best to hide, they were still discovered more than half a month ago. They were all captured by Yao Ming and used as hostages to threaten Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian did not tell Yao Li and the others about the new Naga. However, Yang Dingtian told them everything about Yao Leng. Yao Zi said in surprise, He's that shameless? Yao Li and Bo Lu were not surprised. Yao Li said, Your Excellency Yang Dingtian, Yao Leng's behavior is very common in Little Western Paradise. We've lived for too long, so our hearts are cold. We've thought through everything thoroughly. For the sake of benefits, for the sake of survival, they'll do anything. Then Yao Li said, In fact, before I met His Excellency Yang Dingtian, I always thought that the most outstanding leader was someone like my sworn brother Yao Qi. Furthermore, I can say that if Yao Leng was replaced by Yao Qi, he would have performed even better during the Great Fission. But after the Great Fission, he will be even more ruthless towards His Excellency Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian hesitated for a moment and said, As for Mr. Yao Qi's ruthlessness, I have fully understood it. Yao Li did not pay attention to Yang Dingtian's words at first. Then, she said in shock, How do you know brother Yao Qi? He went to the human countries? He once mentioned something about the human countries to me. It seemed like Yao Rao had successfully borrowed a seed from the human countries. He wanted to bring her back and marry her. Then Yao Li's eyes widened. She said, The seed that Yao Rao borrowed, could it be yours, Your Excellency Yang Ding? Yang Dingtian nodded and said, That's right. Yao Rao is my wife. We have a baby left. The baby of the demigod's descendant, Yang. Yao Li and Yao Zi were instantly stunned. Then, Yao Zi's beautiful eyes lit up. She actually looked directly at Yang Dingtian's private parts. Fuck, this little girl's gaze is too direct. She's completely restless. Clearly, she was very curious about the baby of the demigod's descendant. She also wanted to have one with Yang Dingtian. However, Yao Li thought of something else and said, Then, did my elder brother Yao Qi go to the human countries and snatch your wife and child away? Because no one can stop him when he wants to do something. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, yes, he went to my house and killed Yao Li. He stole Yao Rao and Yao Li's expression changed. Yao Zi was furious. She said, how could he do that? I'm done with him. Don't worry, Mr. Yang Dingtian. After we return to the Little Western Paradise, we'll definitely force him to return your wife and child. Yao Li's face was pale. Clearly, no one could stop Yao Qi from doing anything. Even she could not stop him, let alone Yao Zi. I'm sorry. Yao Li said, why didn't you say so before? Yang Dingtian said, it wasn't the right time to say it. However, now that you're going to follow me back to the human countries, I have to make things clear. Yao Li did not know what to say. She could only say again, I'm sorry. No need to be sorry. Yang Dingtian said, I've already been to the Little Western Paradise and brought back my wife and child. They're not hurt at all. Yao Zi was shocked. How is that possible? Yao Qi is very powerful. You're no match for him now. Back then, you weren't even worth a finger of his. Fuck, this girl is so direct. Yang Dingtian was silent for a moment and said, there are many things that don't depend on martial arts. Then, Yang Dingtian said to Yao Li, there's something you need to be mentally prepared for. Yao Li looked up and said, tell me. Yang Dingtian said, Yao Qi is dead. What? Yao Li's body trembled as if she was struck by lightning. She lost all reaction. After a long while, her beautiful eyes lost focus. She said, how is that possible? How is that possible? He's so powerful. How could he die? Who else in this world can kill him? It seemed that Yao Li's admiration for Yao Qi was deeply engraved in her bones. Yang Dingtian said, speaking of which, I have a lot to do with his death. Yao Li said, you killed him? Yang Dingtian said, I'm not that powerful. If he wanted to kill me, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. However, I'm the one who indirectly caused his death. Tell me. Yao Li grabbed Yang Dingtian's arm and stabbed it into his flesh. Yang Dingtian said, I'll tell you everything in detail. I won't exaggerate or embellish anything. Of course, if you don't want to go to the human world with me, I can help you. I can help you return to the Little Western Paradise. No, I'm determined to go with you, Yao Zi said quickly. Yao Qi is so shameless. He deserves to die. It seemed that Yao Zi was not interested in Yao Qi at all. Yao Li said, all right, tell me. Yang Dingtian said, I'll have to start with Yao Rao and me. Then, Yang Dingtian told her the whole story. From her meeting Yao Rao, to her getting pregnant, to Yao Rao giving birth to Yang Yi, to Yao Li's appearance and coercion, to Yao Qi killing Yao Li and kidnapping Yao Rao and Yang Yi. Yang Dingtian was a little more concise about this part. However, from Yang Dingtian swallowing Yao Li's silver dragon blood essence, entering the Little Western Paradise, and turning into the speechless tribe, Yang Dingtian told her everything in great detail. He did not miss a single detail. Wow, Mr. Yang Dingtian, you can turn into the speechless tribe. Then I love you even more, Yao Zi said. Immediately, Yao Li gnashed her teeth and wished for nothing more than to slap her younger sister. Yang Dingtian continued. He told her how he met Jia, met Yao Qi, and became the great sage's disciple. Then, he told her how he was seen through by Yao Qi and how he was played by Yao Qi. Finally, he told her how Yong Shi and Wen Yan plotted to kill Yao Qi. How did Yao Qi die in front of him? Every detail was explained clearly. Of course, Yang Dingtian did not tell her that Yong Shi was taken over by Wen Yan. It was not time yet. Finally, Yang Dingtian said, Yao Li, you're right. No one can kill Yao Qi except for himself. Back then, he knew that it might be a trap, but he still jumped in anyway. Then Yang Dingtian said mockingly, actually, I'm the same. If I were him, I would have jumped in too. It's just that I was blessed. I jumped in and got the void fire. But when he jumped in, he was turned into ashes. Yao Li did not react after hearing that. Yao Zi's eyes were full of stars. She said, so Yao Qi is so powerful. I always thought that he was boring and stupid. Mr. Yang Dingtian, you're so useless. Not only were you played by Yao Qi, but you were also played by Jia. Yang Dingtian smiled bitterly. This little girl was too direct. Yao Zi said, "Sigh, I really regret not realizing Yao Qi's power earlier. If I knew that he was so cool, I might have fallen in love with him." Yang Dingtian was speechless. Suddenly, Bola said, "Chairman Yao Qi is the most outstanding leader and hero. But to people like us, Mr. Yang Dingtian is the most worthy leader to follow." Then, Bola said, "Princess Yao Li, I don't care what your decision is, but as long as Mr. Yang Dingtian is alive, I will follow him. So, if you want to return to Little Western Paradise, please forgive me for not being able to follow you." Awen and Awu nodded. As to Bolu, Awen, and Awu, Yao Qi's wisdom was not very attractive to them. It was too scary to follow such a leader. What they wanted was recognition, equality, and trust. Yao Zi stared at Yang Dingtian for a long time. Just now, Yang Dingtian had said that she was useless. But Yao Qi was the main character. She was so smart, so powerful, so cool. She was an idol. Yang Dingtian was completely overshadowed by her. Yao Zi felt that liking Yang Dingtian didn't give her any face at all. But then again, it was not good to fall in love with someone else. Then she comforted herself. Although Yang Dingtian was not as powerful as Yao Qi, he should be the second most powerful. However, he should be ranked second. Furthermore, Yao Qi treated Yang Dingtian as a close friend before her death. It was evident that Yang Dingtian was still very formidable. Then, Yao Zi suddenly said, "Mr. Yang Dingen, after Jia gave birth to the child, she was really close to you." To stop her unrealistic thoughts, Yang Dingen nodded and admitted, "Yes, yes. Although we were enemies, Jia is my wife now." "That's great." Yao Zi said, "Jia is the most outstanding woman in Little Western Paradise. She's the dream lover of the young masters of the big tribes. She's also Yao Qi's fiancée. She's so powerful and beautiful. Even someone with such a high status would like you. It's obvious that you're a good person. Liking you is very honorable." Yang Dingun was speechless. Yao Zi's brain could not be measured by a normal female's. She was very similar to the two-dimensional girls on Earth. Her way of thinking had always been very strange. Yang Dingtian looked at Yao Li and said, "All right, take your time to digest this. We'll have a good night's sleep tonight and leave tomorrow. You can think about it. There's no rush to make a decision." Yao Li shook her head and said, "There's no need to think about it. I'm not a narrow-minded woman. Brother Yao Qi was not killed by you. Even if you killed him, I won't change my mind. There's no right or wrong between the two of you. You're all standing on your own side. Moreover, he's the one who wronged you, not the other way around." Then, Yao Li desperately raised her head and held back her tears. She said, "This is good too. I can follow you wholeheartedly and complete your career. Perhaps your career is the way of the king. It's the greatest." Yang Dingtan said, "All reality, all life, is great. Therefore, saving reality is definitely a great thing." Then Yang Dingtan said, "All right, let's go to sleep. We'll leave tomorrow morning." Then, the six of them returned to their own rooms. Yao Zi's beautiful eyes turned, as if she had a different idea. But soon, her sister Yao Li grabbed her by the ear and pulled her into her own room. It seemed that Yao Li would definitely not shower tonight. Even if she did, she would shower with Yao Zi. In any case, Yao Zi could not be allowed to leave his side. Otherwise, she would definitely come to Yang Dingtian's room. The next morning, even though the entire first dark realm was melted by the sun, the six of them still got up and hurried on. However, they were not as desperate as they were in the second dark realm because it was safe here. Of course, they occasionally encountered elemental creatures, but they were no longer in the mood to hunt because the elemental creatures here were too weak. 3 days and 3 nights later, the six of them reached the end of the first dark realm. The border of the abyss appeared in front of them again. After passing through the border of the abyss, they would arrive at the human kingdom. Yang Dingtian released the void fissure fire and purified the border of the abyss. Then the six of them jumped in. As if they were traveling through time, the six of them passed through the border of the abyss. When they opened their eyes again, They were already filled with ice and snow. They had returned to the human kingdom. This was the extreme north of the human kingdom, the border of the abyss. Previously, the cold at the border of the abyss was almost unbearable for Yang Dingtian. However, now that he had broken through to the half-saint realm, the cold was not too serious for him. In fact, his mystic fire could even provide heat for the others. After a few days and nights, the 6 of them walked out of the terrifying coastal area. Then they stepped on the ice and snow that filled the sky. Tens of thousands of miles to the southwest was Cloud Sky City, their home. Yang Dingtian led the 5 of them and could not wait to return home as quickly as possible. Chapter 874. That night, Yang Dingtian experienced what it meant to be like a wolf or a tiger. He also understood what it meant to not judge a book by its cover. Yan Yan was born with a big chest, but she was the most useless when it came to that. She was defeated very early on. Qin Jiaojiao was very loud at the start, but in the end she was about to cry and hide in a corner, trembling. Mu Lianyi's body was the strongest, but she couldn't do it either and was defeated very quickly. Ning Rou was not to be underestimated. She really made Yang Dingtian see her in a new light. It seemed like she was only dabbling in it before. Now, little Ning Ning was already in her teens. She had always wanted to have a child, but she wasn't able to conceive 2 years ago. Now that Yang Dingtian had returned, it just so happened that it was her period. Hence, she was going all out and was determined to get pregnant. Otherwise, she didn't know when Yang Dingtian would return. The most amazing ones were Wu Maji and Yao Rao. These 2 were really demons who wanted to eat up all the bones in a person. They were completely sucking the marrow out of him. They only stopped when it was almost dawn, when Yang Dingtian's toes were about to cramp. In the end, they didn't even have time to talk about Li Qing or how much they missed him. They just lay down and fell asleep. Yang Dingtian didn't even have time to take a shower. He slept all the way until night fell. Yang Dingtian was about to get up when Wu Maji said, "Anyway, it's already dark. Why don't we not get up and continue?" Yang Dingtian jumped out of bed in shock and ran to take a shower and change his clothes. Wu Maji covered her mouth and giggled on the bed. She didn't have any intention of getting up to help Yang Dingtian shower and change his clothes. It was Yan Yan who rubbed her waist and tried her best to get up and help Yang Dingtian shower. In the bathtub, Yan Yan gently helped Yang Dingtian wash his body, shave his beard, and comb his hair. Logically speaking, the 2 of them should have countless things to say, but neither of them wanted to open their mouths. They just wanted to enjoy this quiet sweetness. Originally, Yang Dingtian should have asked if his family was doing well. "Are the children well behaved? How much I miss you." Yan Yan, on the other hand, should she ask if Yang Dingtian had a hard time in the past 2 years? They missed him so much. They were together every day, praying for him. Master's wife and his mother, Madame Shimin, didn't even dare to eat meat anymore. They were wholeheartedly accumulating good karma for Yang Dingtian. However, the 2 of them realized that they didn't need to say anything. That kind of longing, had already been deeply engraved in the bones. Yan Yan quickly helped Yang Dingtian put on his clothes and combed his hair. Finally, Yang Dingtian looked like a human again. He was 10 years younger and no longer looked like a middle-aged uncle in his 30s or 40s. Then Yang Dingtian suddenly remembered something. He took out a gemstone from his space ring and put it on Yan Yan's snow-white neck. He said softly, "A friend asked me to give this to you. Is it a man or a woman?" Yan Yan asked. "A woman." Yang Dingtian said, "The Queen of New Naga." "Wow, that's amazing." Yan Yan said, "Why didn't you bring her home? I don't mind her being an elder sister." Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "We are just good friends." Yan Yan said, "I don't believe that she gave this to me. She must have said that it was for the woman you love the most, right?" Yang Dingtian touched her butt and said, "Didn't they say that pregnancy makes one stupid for 3 years? How did you become so smart?" Yan Yan stroked the pendant and said, "Husband, do the other sisters have this?" "No, only you have it," Yang Dingtian said. "That's great." Yan Yan kissed him happily and said, "I love you so much." Yang Dingtian was speechless. Aren't you sisters very close now? After helping Yang Dingtian take care of everything, Yen Yen said, okay, you can take care of your business. Master and Marshal Uncle Qin must have been waiting for you for a long time. Where is our baby girl? Yang Dingtian asked. My mother is taking care of her. Yen Yen said, when you come back to sleep, I will carry her for you to play with. Yang Dingtian kissed her lips and pinched her small waist before leaving. Master Dongfang Minmi, Qin Wanshou, and the other higher-ups of the Council of Light didn't wait for long. It was only 8 hours. When Yang Dingtian entered, they were chatting happily with Yao Li and Bo Lu. When he entered, everyone's eyes immediately looked over. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but blush. After all, he had just returned and had been debauched for an entire day. It was really embarrassing. Master Dongfang Minmi smiled and said, actually, we can wait until tomorrow. Immediately, Yang Dingtian felt even more embarrassed. Next, they didn't immediately get down to business. Instead, they held a small banquet. It could be considered as a welcome for Yang Dingtian and also as a reception for friends and comrades from afar. This was even better because this way, Yang Dingtian's wives and children could all be at the banquet. Not only that, Qin Huayu and Song Liua's children and Kuei Ning's children also came. That's right, Qin Huayu and Song Liua also had children. Kuei Ning and 5th Miss Qin also had children. Even Zhao Mu had already married and had children. As for Zhu Hongxue, he was still alone. And he didn't seem to have any intention of marrying. This person's brain was more stubborn. It would probably take a long time for him to come around. Yang Dingtian's eldest daughter, Yang Ningning, had also applied for leave from the Heavenly Edict Academy and was brought back by Qin Mengli. Yang Dingtian almost didn't dare to recognize her. She, who was about 13 years old, was already slender and very beautiful. Daddy! When she saw Yang Dingtian, she rushed over like a flame and hung on Yang Dingtian's neck. Then, Ning Ro, cast a serious gaze from the side. However, the lethality to little Ningning was completely zero. Little Ningning hung on Yang Dingtian's neck and carefully looked at Yang Dingtian's face for a while. Then she said, Daddy, you've become more handsome. Then, she kissed Yang Dingtian's beard stubble and came down. Then, she walked to Qin Huayu and called out obediently, Daddy, Auntie. She only called Qin Huayu Daddy when she grew up in the past 1 or 2 years. However, she had a good relationship with Song Lihua and even admired Song Lihua a little. She felt that she was very capable. Moreover, she had repeatedly expressed in front of Song Lihua that it was a loss for her to marry her biological father. She said that her father wasn't worthy of Song Lihua. Even when Qin Huayu was beside her, she still said the same thing. Qin Huayu didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he also deeply agreed. Because more and more people came. Other than the frontline commanders and those on duty at the Tiando League, the remaining higher-ups of the Council of Light were almost all here. Therefore, the banquet had to be expanded. They didn't talk about business at the banquet. Yang Dingtian carried his youngest daughter, Yang Yen, and shuttled through the crowd to talk. This little baby was already 3 years old. She was really cute. Her little face was really like an apple, delicate and pink. She was so soft in his arms that Yang Dingtian couldn't bear to let go. This baby actually didn't know Yang Dingtian. But she wasn't shy at all. She smiled sweetly at everyone. She was the kind of baby that made people's hearts melt just by looking at her. She really wanted to be liked by everyone. Yang Qin was already 4 years old, almost 5 years old. She had been like a princess since she was young. Now, she didn't like to be carried. She liked to wear the most beautiful clothes and let others hold her hand. Otherwise, she would just sit there quietly. And Wu Maji's daughter was also almost 4 years old. Although she was a Chao's twin, she really showed an incomparably stunning beauty. It wasn't just Yang Dingtian. Almost everyone present had never seen such a beautiful little girl. She had snow-white and pink skin, big blue eyes that were like gemstones, and her hair was golden. She was like a doll carved out of white jade. This kind of beauty made even Yang Dingtian feel like he had to be careful when carrying her. Moreover, this little girl was so young, but she was already so arrogant. This made many little boys feel pressured and didn't dare to play with her. However, when she saw Yang Dingtian carrying Yang Yen, even though she tried her best to hold it in, she still pursed her lips and couldn't help but tear up. Today, she wore the most beautiful clothes, just to make her father like her the most. She wanted to be her father's most beautiful daughter. When Yang Dingtian saw this, he used his other hand to carry his doll-like daughter. He couldn't help but kiss her little face. Then he simply sat down, one on each side of his knee. Then he let Yang Qin lean in his arms. He interacted with his 3 daughters while chatting with the Council of Light's higher-ups. Yang Dingtian had always been very sensitive to children's hearts. He was already an incompetent father, so he was very concerned about their feelings. As for boys, he didn't need to carry them in his arms. Yang Dingtian realized that among his sons, Yang Yi was the smartest. Yang Li's personality was the strongest. As for Ah Cho, he was a little heartless and clingy. He was also Yang Li's follower. Therefore, not only his master's wife and mother-in-law, even Dongfang Minmi said that Ah Cho was the most fortunate. Yan Yan felt that Yang Li was too strong-willed and had a strong personality. She was just like his mother, afraid that he wouldn't easily find happiness in the future. As for Yang Yichen, although he was the second oldest child, he was the one who needed the most love. Because his biological father left, he was more dependent on the love of his elders. Because of this, among the few little boys, Yang Dingtian purposely acted as if he was the closest to him. And now, Yang Yichen's identity had become Yang Dingtian's adopted son. He was the future lord of Cloud Sky City, and this had been announced to the public long ago. Therefore, even Yang Li kept saying that he was the future lord of Cloud Sky City. Just like this, the banquet was carried out in laughter. After the banquet ended, Yang Dingtian and the higher-ups of the Council of Light entered the conference room to listen to the reports of the important matters of the human countries in the past 2 years. As there were too many things to report, they started with the most important things. The first thing was the drastic changes in the Vulture Palace. The changes in the Vulture Palace were completely different from what Yang Dingtian had imagined. Chapter 875. In Yang Dingtian's imagination, Wu Daozi and Wolingzi would definitely have internal strife and kill each other. But the result was Wolingzi surrendered. Yes, he surrendered. As a result, Wu Daozi became the new master of the Vulture Palace, and Wolingzi became the supreme elder of the Vulture Palace. Yes, it was the supreme elder, not the supreme palace master. And the young palace master of the Vulture Palace directly became Yang Dingtian's wife, Spirit Rabbit. As for the original little Princess Vulture, she was sent out again to protect herself by marriage. This time, she was betrothed to Dongli, but Dongli was already a eunuch. In short, Wolingzi, a weirdo, had greatly refreshed the bottom line of a peerless master. It was completely unimaginable that a person could be so cowardly. How afraid of death was he? When an ordinary man was angry, blood would splatter 5 steps away. He was a sage-level master, one of the top 5 or even top 3 masters in the world, but he lived such a cowardly life. If it were Yang Dingtian, he would have killed himself long ago. But this was undoubtedly bad news for Yang Dingtian. If Wu Daozi and Wolingzi did not have internal strife, Yang Dingtian would not be able to stir up trouble inside, and he would not be able to seize the Vulture Palace. Moreover, Wu Daozi was different from Wolingzi. He was extreme and ruthless, but he was not necessarily smart. He was very stubborn and often liked to play games of life and death. Therefore, strategic blackmail had no effect on the Vulture Palace. Dongfang Minmi continued, and there is another piece of bad news. The Vulture Palace and the Snakeman Empire have the intention of formally forming an alliance. As one of the young masters of the evil ways, Dongli is still the prime minister of the Snakeman Empire and has great power. Not only that, but the lords and sect masters of the human nations who were stripped of their authority have all pledged allegiance to the Naga Empire and have taken up important positions, ready to fight back at the human nations. Qin Wancho said, not only that, but the Snakeman Empire's fleets and aerial cavalry have repeatedly provoked our Northwest Fleet over the past year. Their winged cavalry has even violated our airspace many times. Moreover, the Snake Men Empire has been spying on the important bases of the Council of Light more and more. They have tried to steal our top-secret intelligence and destroy our secret bases many times. It seemed that Queen Hai Xian of the Naga Empire had completely decided to walk together with the evil ways and completely overturn the human kingdoms. In this way, it would be very difficult to completely unify the human countries and the Vitality continent before the Doomsday War. The alliance between the Vulture Palace and the Snakeman Empire was very difficult to break. Moreover, the Vulture Palace and the Snakeman Empire had a total of 3 half-saint experts. At present, the Council of Light still only had 1 half-saint expert, Yang Dingtian. Before the Doomsday War, the Snakemen Empire and the Vulture Palace must be dealt with. However, Yang Dingtian had to decide whether to deal with the Snakemen Empire or the Vulture Palace first. Then, Yang Dingtian asked, "Princess of the Evil Ways, Mu Dan, and Dongli, any movements?" Dongfang Minmi said, "These 2 people have disappeared again. Moreover, even Netherming has not been seen for a long time." Yang Dingtian asked, "Has Wu Yu returned to the human nations in the Nethersea?" Dongfang Minmi shook his head and said, "I don't know. The gate of the human nations in the Skull Hall has been occupied by the Snakemen Empire. Wu Ying has been seriously injured." Yang Dingtian's pupils suddenly shrank. Next, the senior officials of the Council of Light began to report the general situation of the army and the construction of the secret weapons. After more than 2 years of development, the Tiando League's 3 continents and 9 major defense lines had been established. The number of elite troops in the front line had increased to 20 million, and the size of the navy had reached an unprecedented number of nearly 3 million. There were more than 1,000 large and medium-sized warships equipped with supercrystal power arrays, and countless small and medium-sized warships. There were more than 2,000 large and medium-sized submarines equipped with supercrystal power arrays, and the number of small submarines was less. As for cannons and shells, it was an astronomical number. As for the most important strategic material, Crystal X, an unprecedented huge treasure, was found in the depths of the volcano in the land of extreme difficulty. At first, it was estimated to be 100,000 caddies, then it became 200,000 caddies, and then 300,000 caddies. As a result, 500,000 caddies had been mined, and it was still being mined. Of course, it was very thin now, and the daily harvest was very little. However, these 500,000 caddies of X crystal stones were still quite shocking. With these crystals, the rocket technology had advanced by leaps and bounds. The underwater torpedoes, whether it was the speed, the initial attack range, or the explosive power, had undergone a drastic change. It could be said that a ship of 1 to 2,000 tons would be destroyed by a super torpedo. Moreover, the torpedo's underwater speed had reached an astonishing 100 knots, which had surpassed many modern torpedoes on Earth. As for the most important strategic weapon, the large missile, there was no problem with long-range missiles, not to mention 800 miles, 1,000 miles, or even 2,000 miles. However, in terms of accuracy, it was very, very slow. In fact, the accuracy of the large missile's attack was still very, very low. What the warlocks could do was only to constantly correct the mechanical gyroscope. And Zhu Hongxue directly broke through to a 9-star level 9 Great Grandmaster from a 9-star level 4 Great Grandmaster. He was only 1 step away from becoming a Great Grandmaster. Qin Huayu also broke through to the Great Grandmaster level. He was waiting for Yang Dingtian's Mystic Fire Lightning to make a real breakthrough. Similarly, Song Chunhua directly broke through to the Great Grandmaster level and was waiting for Yang Dingtian's Mystic Fire Lightning. Umaji was originally a 1-star level 5 Great Grandmaster. After more than 2 years, she barely broke through to the 2-star Great Grandmaster level. And Dishi Bian, whom Yang Dingtian was most concerned about, went to cultivate alone more than 2 years ago and had not returned yet. Therefore, he did not know how much she had broken through in her cultivation. In short, before the Doomsday battle, It was already very difficult for the higher-ups of the Council of Light to make a big breakthrough in their cultivation. However, this time in the Dark Realm, they had gained a lot. There were many energy essences close to level 9, and some close to level 10. One must know that energy essences close to level 9 meant energy essences close to a 9-star level 9 Great Grandmaster level. And energy essences close to level 10 meant unlimited Great Grandmaster level. At this time, in Yangdingtian Space Ring, there were more than 100 energy essences close to level 10 and 80 energy essences close to level 9. This batch of energy essences was enough to make many people's cultivation advance by leaps and bounds. Everyone was stunned when they heard that there were energy essences that could be swallowed directly to break through. Then they finally understood why there were a large number of half-saint level experts in the Little Western Paradise, and there were even many saint-level experts. It turned out that they were all obtained from hunting energy essences in the Dark Realm. This batch of energy essences was undoubtedly a huge temptation. Therefore, the distribution became a big problem. However, it was not a big problem, because this batch of energy essences could only be swallowed by advanced Great Grandmasters. Even with Yangdingtian's protection, one had to be at least a 6-star Great Grandmaster to be able to swallow the energy essences close to level 9. Otherwise, one would be smashed to pieces in an instant. After discussion, they finally decided. They would use this batch of energy essences to create a few top unlimited Great Grandmasters. Therefore, after discussion, they finally decided on the distribution plan of the energy essences. Anyone above 6-star Great Grandmaster level could be on the list, from high to low, until the energy essences were exhausted. Among this batch of unlimited Great Grandmasters, Qin Wanqiu, Dongfang Minmi, Dishi Bian, Duan Rian, Zhuaqin Qi, and Cheng Deibai were all on the list. In other words, these 6 people would break through to the unlimited Great Grandmaster level regardless of the cost. The remaining energy essences would be distributed. Elder Ning Busi was originally on the list, but because he was too old, he declined. Immediately after, Duan Rian also suggested that she was willing to withdraw from the list. The reason was that she had evil energy in her body. Therefore, under the insistence of Yang Dingtian, Dongfang Minmi, and Qin Wanqiu, Duan Rian entered the list again. This was because everyone felt that Duan Rian's desire to fight was extremely strong and her talent was high enough. They also told Duan Rian not to think too much. Although she had evil energy in her body, it seemed that this level of evil energy would not directly control her will. As for Qin Huayu, Zhu Hongxue, Wu Maji, and the other youngsters, they might have high innate talents, but their cultivation was too low. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian's reserve of energy essence that was close to Class 8 and Class 7 was too little. Therefore, it was very difficult to distribute the energy essences to them this time. Therefore, Master Dongfang Minmi took the lead in swallowing the energy essences to evolve, while Yang Dingtian guarded by the side. Master Dongfang Minmi was now a 9-star level 1 Great Grandmaster, which should be equivalent to level 8. Therefore, the first thing he swallowed was an energy essence close to level 9. He closed his eyes and swallowed directly. Everything was normal. After spending a total of 5 energy essences close to the 9th level and 4 energy essences close to the 10th level, his master, Dongfang Nimi, directly broke through to the 3rd rank of the 9th level and entered the ranks of the infinite Great Grandmasters. Next was Qin Wanqiu. The amount of energy essences he consumed was 1 energy essence close to the peak of level 9 less than Dongfang Minmi. After using 4 energy essences close to level 9 and 4 energy essences close to level 10, he also directly broke through to infinite Great Grandmaster. Next was Ning Busi. He consumed a total of 6 energy essences close to level 9 and 4 energy essences close to level 10. He also successfully broke through to infinite Great Grandmaster. Then it was Zhuaqin Qi, Duan Rian, and Cheng Deibai. After a few hours, the swallowing of the energy essences ended. Dongfang Minmi, Qin Wanqiu, Zhuaqin Qi, Ning Busi, Cheng Deibai, and Duan Rian all entered infinite Great Grandmaster. Suddenly, the Council of Light had 6 more infinite Great Grandmasters. More than half of the energy essences in Yang Dingtian's storage had not been used up. Dishi Bian was not around, so he could only leave them for her. However, he did not know where Dishi Bian had gone. Even Wu Maji, who was always by her side, did not know. After daybreak, they entered the final topic. How to completely solve the problems of the Vulture Palace and the Naga Empire before the Doomsday War. And should they solve the problems of the Vulture Palace or the Naga Empire first? In the end, Yang Dingtian still decided to solve the problems of the Vulture Palace first. In the afternoon, Yang Dingtian left Cloud Sky City and led Bo Lu and Yao Li to the Vulture Palace. As for the reason, it was to take back his wife, Spirit Rabbit. Chapter 876. But Yang Dingtian was right. The Vulture Palace was not only a member of the Tiando League, but also a member of the Council of Light and the Supreme Commander of the Southern Barbarian Continent. Even now, Ling Chuzi was still a member of the Council of Light's Supreme Commander. When Wu Yuming and Yang Dingtian were competing for the position of the leader of the Hidden Sect and the leader of the Tiando League, the Vulture Palace strongly supported them. All of the key positions were added to strengthen Wu Yuming's reputation. Later, Wu Yuming was defeated. Even when the Council of Light and the Vulture Palace went to war, the Vulture Palace did not withdraw from the Council of Light. Moreover, these agreements were all in black and white and had been signed with mystic seals. But in the hands of a truly powerful person, these things were nothing. Even if they were used to wipe one's ass, they would find them too hard. Wu Dozi couldn't be bothered to argue with Yang Dingtian. In any case, there wasn't any meaning to it. Wu Daozi said indifferently, "Did Yang Dingtian come to my Spirit Vulture sect just for this?" Yang Dingtian said, "I originally came for another matter. But after I came, I discovered two big things. First, the Vulture Palace's leader is privately accepting. Second, the Naga Empire's forces have entered the Vulture Palace on a large scale. What do you want to do? Rebel?" Immediately, Yang Dingtian rebuked with the imposing manner of the leader of the Tiando League. Wu Daozi trembled with anger. He looked at Yang Dingtian and sneered, "Your Excellency, why are you pretending to be confused?" Yang Dingtian said, "I won't tell you. In the eyes of the Council of Light, there is only one leader of the Vulture Palace, and that is Wu Lingzi. I will go and talk to him." After saying that, Yang Dingtian suddenly flashed and directly flew towards Wu Lingzi's lonely peak. Wu Daozi couldn't stop him in time, but he wasn't willing to lower himself to chase after him. He immediately snorted coldly, and his eyes couldn't help but fill with anger and killing intent. Yang Dingtian directly entered Wu Lingzi's thatched hut. Wu Lingzi sat cross-legged on the ground. He really seemed to have aged a few decades. He no longer had his white hair and youthful complexion. There were wrinkles on his face. When he saw Yang Dingtian come, his eyelids slightly wrinkled, but he didn't say anything. Junior Yang Dingtian greets Senior Wu Lingzi. Yang Dingtian bowed. Wu Lingzi cursed in his heart. "Fuck, I've never seen you so polite before. Why are you so polite today?" "I came here today for two things," Yang Dingtian said seriously. "First, why did Wu Daozi become the new master of the Vulture Palace? Did something disobedient happen in the Vulture Palace? Second, why did the Serpentine Empire's forces enter the Southern Barbarian Continent?" You must know that the Southern Barbarian Continent is the most important defensive area in the south of the Council of Light. Did the Serpentine Empire's entry inform the Council of Light? This is a rebellion. This is a betrayal. Then Yang Dingtian said gently, "Senior Wu Lingzi, I know that there must be internal strife and betrayal in the Vulture Palace. Don't worry, in the Council of Light and the Tiando League, you, Wu Lingzi, are the true master of the Vulture Palace. As long as you need, we will do our best to help you eliminate the rebellion and bring order to the chaos." Finally, Wu Lingzi's face twitched violently. He opened his eyes and said, "There's no need, Sir Yang Ding. I feel that I'm old, and nephew Wu Daozi is the best in both martial arts and wisdom. Therefore, I've officially passed the position of master of the Vulture sect to him. I'm no longer involved in the sect's affairs." Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "Senior Wu Lingzi, this won't do. The Vulture Palace hasn't withdrawn from the Tiando League and the Council of Light. As long as I don't approve, this will be a random order. But don't worry, I know that you must be under some kind of coercion and have no choice but to say something against your will. You must believe that the Tiando League will stand behind you and help you eliminate the rebellion and bring order to the chaos. Suddenly, Wulingzi jumped in fright and said loudly, Yang Ding, don't do this to me. Yang Dingtian got up and walked outside. Then he said loudly, don't worry, Senior Wulingzi. The Council of Light will give you an explanation for the Vulture Palace's rebellion. Yang Dingtian's voice was so loud that the entire Vulture Palace could hear it. Suddenly, many people's hearts trembled. Could it be that Ancestor Wulingzi was going to join forces with Yang Dingtian to eliminate Wu Daozi? Then, everyone should quickly observe the situation and not take sides. Wulingzi was so angry that his whole body trembled. He was restless and rushed out to deny it. But he was a person who cared about his reputation. If he denied it, wouldn't it prove that he was afraid of Wu Daozi? So he just snorted coldly. Everyone heard him and no longer spoke. Then Yang Dingun came in front of Wu Daozi and said, Grandfather-in-law, I have one more thing. Wu Daozi's face became extremely ugly. He said, Your Excellency Yang Dingun, if you act so recklessly, you won't be able to walk out of the Vulture Palace. Although the temple has a no-kill order for you, if you anger me, I will still kill you. No. Yang Dingtian said, Don't talk big. You can't kill me. Haha. Wu Daozi laughed wildly and said, 2 years ago, you were just a 9-star 9th-rank Grandmaster. Now, you are at most an infinite Grandmaster. You are a frog in a well. Do you know how far the gap between an infinite Grandmaster and a half-saint is? You can't cross it in 100 years. If I want to kill you, it will be as easy as turning over my hand. The reason you are alive is that the Temple Master doesn't want you to be one now. Don't show off like a clown. Yang Dingtian didn't get angry. He said, The first thing is that I want to take my wife, Ling Tur, back. 2 years ago, she went back to her mother's home. It's been a long time, and it's time to go back to her real home. In your dreams, Wu Daozi said sternly, Yang Dinghan, don't force me. Don't force me to kill you here. Yang Dingtian said, The second matter is that you had once challenged my Radiance Parliament in the Heaven Enlightenment Academy by having a martial arts competition. Today, I challenge you to a duel at the Heavenly Edict Academy 7 days from now. How about it? Wu Daozi was shocked and looked at Yang Dingtian as if looking at a madman. Was Yang Dingtian stupid? Was his brain flooded with water? Did he know how far an infinite Grandmaster was from a half-saint? He actually dreamed of having a duel with him to get justice? Suddenly, Wu Daozi sneered. Yang Dingtan, do you know? In the duel between you and me in the Forbidden Sea, how much advantage did you have? It was because of Queen Hai Xin and Wu Yoming's secret help that you didn't die. Otherwise, you would have turned into ashes long ago. Moreover, if we have another duel, I won't show mercy, and it won't be a civil duel. Even if there were 10 of you, or even 100 of you, you wouldn't be my match. I could crush you to death with a single finger. Are you sure you want to have a duel? Yang Dingan said, Yes. I'm sure I want to have a duel. Wu Daozi's face turned cold and he said with a smile, Well, since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Yang Dingtian said, Since there's an example, how about we make a bet? Wu Daozi said, Say it. Yang Dingtian said, First, if you lose, you will return the position of Vulture Palace Master to Ling Chuzi and be completely exiled from the Vulture Palace. Second, if you lose, you will completely release the freedom of the Spirit Rabbit. How about that? Ridiculous, the most ridiculous thing in the world. Wu Daozi laughed. Okay, I promise you anything. Now, if I kill you, the Temple of Annihilation can't blame me. Yang Dingtian said, Okay, then it's a deal. 7 days later, at the Heavenly Edict Academy, we will have a duel to the death. It's not a duel to the death, but I will trample you, the master of the hidden sect, who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, to death. Wu Daozi said coldly. Yang Dingtian ignored him and said loudly, Senior Wulingzi, You see, I will definitely get justice for you. 7 days later, I will defeat Wu Daozi, and the Vulture Palace will definitely set things right and restore justice. His voice once again spread throughout the Vulture Palace. Everyone heard that Yang Dingtian wanted to compete with Wu Daozi for Wulingzi and expel him from the Vulture Palace and return to Wulingzi's position. It seemed that they were really colluding. Suddenly, Wulingzi felt like he couldn't wash himself clean. Then, Yang Dingtian's expression changed again, and he said gently, "Grandfather Yu, where is the spirit rabbit? I want to take her home." Wu Daozi's face twitched. "Anyway, you are going to die soon, you don't need to see her." "No, I still want to see her, or I won't leave," Yang Dingtian said. Wu Daozi said coldly, "Even if you see her, she won't go with you." Yang Dingtian asked, "Where is she?" "I'm here, Sect Master Yang." Then, Spirit Rabbit's gentle and clear voice came from not far away. Last time, she had become a real woman. Another 2 years had passed, but she was still as exquisite as ever, as if she was carved from jade. It was just that the outline of her delicate body was more attractive and mature. Her jade-like face was still incomparably bright, as if she was a teenage girl. "Will you go back with me?" Yang Dingtian asked. Spirit Rabbit came over and looked deeply at Yang Dingtian, then shook her head and said, I want to look after Grandpa." Yang Dingtian said, "You can't look after him. You should know what it means that the Snake People Empire has entered the southern barbarian continent." Spirit Rabbit said, "It's better than no one watching, or the consequences will be more serious." Yang Dingtian reached out and gently stroked her little face, saying nothing more. "Yang Ding, let go of your hand or I'll cut it off." Wu Daozi roared. Spirit Rabbit's delicate body trembled, and she quickly let Yang Dingtian's hand leave her face, and said softly, "Sect Master Yang, you can go back." Yang Dingtian said, "Rabbit, no matter what I do in the future, I hope you can understand." "Yes, I can understand." Spirit Rabbit said, "I won't make any requests. No matter what the result is, it's what we deserve." Yang Dingtian nodded at Spirit Rabbit, and then flew out of the Vulture Palace. On the way out of the southern barbarian continent, Yang Dingtian found that there were already countless Snake People troops on the ground, roaring at Yang Dingtian in the sky, provoking him to fight. A male sea serpent flew into the air and blocked Yang Dingtian's path, pointing at Yang Dingtian with a weapon in his hand. "Lowly human, this is not where you should be. If you want to go over, crawl under my crotch." Then he used his long snake tail to form a door. Yang Dingtian suddenly drew his sharp sword and slashed down from a distance of a few dozen meters. Swoosh! In an instant, the male sea serpent was turned into a pile of meat paste. Then, Yang Dingtian aimed at the sea serpent army on the ground and cast devil sky-splitting lightning. Pa 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 pa. In an instant, hundreds and thousands of Snake People Empire troops were all turned into charcoal. Yang Dingtian looked at the incomparably huge Snake People Tower in front of him, and at the top, there was a statue of Queen Hai Exin. He slashed with his sword. Rumble! Suddenly, the 100-meter-tall tower shattered and fell down, smashing the Snake People Empire troops below into meat paste. Then, Yang Dingtian said coldly, "Your Snake People Empire dared to intrude into the territory of the Tiando League. You're courting death. I'll give you 7 days to get out of here. Otherwise, I'll kill all of you." Yang Dingtian's words were like thunder, echoing in the sky for hundreds of kilometers. Suddenly, the Snake People Empire troops trembled. Then Yang Dingtian whistled away. Less than 100 kilometers away from the southern barbarian continent, there was a black vulture floating in the air in front of him. A woman wrapped in a black cloak was on the black vulture. "Mr. Yang Ding, how have you been?" A woman's voice sounded. Yang Dingtian was instantly startled. This voice sounded a little familiar, but it was even more unfamiliar. The woman lifted her cloak and revealed her face. It turned out to be Vulture, the vulture of the little princess of the Vulture Palace. She had changed too much. She seemed to have matured by nearly 10 years, and her face was no longer as delicate as before. Instead, it had become gorgeous. Her chest was still relatively flat, but the curves of her waist and buttocks were very enchanting. The little princess in Yang Dingtian's memory had completely disappeared. Mr. Yang Dingtian, you once wanted to support Wu Daozi, but he was even more hostile to you than my great-grandfather. You reap what you sow, Vulture sneered. Yang Dingun said, you stopped me for this? Vulture said, how about we make a deal? Yang Dingun said, at present, you don't have anything I want. Vulture said, that's not necessarily true. Maybe you'll find something. How about you help me get rid of Wu Daozi, and I'll be your lover? A cheating lover. Yang Dingun laughed and said, you overestimate your attractiveness. Vulture said, a wife is not as good as a concubine, and a concubine is not as good as a thief. I know this very well. I'm now Dongli's woman. You should feel a sense of accomplishment by stealing his wife. Moreover, I promise I won't let anyone else know. Yang Dingun said, you really think too highly of me. Why do you think I can get rid of Wu Daozi? Vulture said, of course you can't do anything to Wu Daozi, but Queen Hai Exine can. As long as you agree to have sex with her, she will completely break off her cooperation with Wu Daozi and withdraw from the southern barbarian continent. She will even join forces with you to expel Wu Daozi. Then my great-grandfather will once again take charge of the Vulture Palace and continue to be neutral like before, and I will become your secret lover. Isn't this the best result? Chapter 877. Yang Dingtian glanced at Vulture. Although this woman's appearance had matured, her brain was completely rusty compared to before. Although she was not wise before, she was very clever. Now, even her last bit of cleverness had been lost. But it was strange. Even if she was in dire straits before, she would not come to him for help. In the past, she hated Yang Dingtian the most. She would rather be in dire straits than admit defeat in front of Yang Dingtian. Because Yang Dingtian was almost the only man who was good to her. Because of her betrayal, she had to maintain her dignity in front of Yang Dingtian. Unexpectedly, at this time, she actually said that she would be Yang Dingtian's lover. It seemed that she had lived a very, very unhappy life for more than 2 years. Yes, Vulture's life was more than unhappy. Compared to before, it was completely like hell. After Wolingzi lost the supreme status of Vulture Palace, the one who suffered the greatest loss was not Wolingzi, but Vulture. Previously in the Vulture Palace, she was only below one person and above thousands of people. She could call the wind and summon the rain, and there was nothing she could not do. In the Vulture Palace, Spirit Rabbit was completely like an ant. She could hit and scold as she wanted. However, since Wolingzi compromised and surrendered, he was still an expert of the sage level, so naturally, no one dared to provoke him. The status of Vulture had completely plummeted. Although no one dared to directly mock or bully her in front of her. But the whole Vulture Palace was ignoring her and giving her the cold shoulder. On the other hand, Spirit Rabbit was loved and respected by all the disciples of Spirit Vulture Palace. Because she was extremely beautiful and very kind. After Wu Daozi came to power, his means of eliminating dissidents were very cruel. Only Spirit Rabbit's kindness could neutralize his cruelty. In the past 2 years, she had saved countless people. Therefore, Spirit Rabbit was completely like an angel in Vulture Palace, completely replacing the previous position of Vulture's princess. Moreover, the disciples of the Vulture Palace admired her from the bottom of their hearts. Compared to Vulture, no one cared about it at all. Previously, whenever the disciples of the Vulture Palace saw her, they would desperately try to curry favor with her. At most, he would just nod and greet them, or even ignore them. Vulture could not accept such a difference in treatment. She felt more and more unbalanced in her heart due to her disappointment and jealousy. In fact, the contempt the people of the Vulture Palace had for her was not entirely because Wolingzi was no longer the master of the Vulture Palace. After all, Vulture was a celestial spiritualist and was very mysterious and powerful. Everyone looked down on her because of her relationship and marriage. In the beginning, her marriage with Wu Yuming was envied by almost everyone. Although the male disciples were a little jealous, Vulture's position in their hearts was higher. One had to know that Wu Yuming was the master of the Taiendo League at that time. and after Wu Yuming and Yang Dingtian's duel and were defeated. Vulture's position was not affected much because of the Chaos Times' consecutive month of reports. Although Wu Yuming had been defeated, his reputation were higher. Everyone knew that he was one of the young masters of the evil ways. Moreover, his defeat had nothing to do with his cultivation. His cultivation was still higher than Yang Dingtian's at that time. He remembered that after serializing Wu Yuming's story for a month, his female fans in the human countries skyrocketed. Of all the things he should not have done, Vulture should not have left Wu Yuming so heartlessly after he was defeated. This caused her image to plummet instantly. How could a woman be so realistic? Wu Yuming was defeated and lost the Taekwondo League's master, and she wanted to divorce him? If that was all, it would have been fine. The most fatal thing to Vulture's reputation was her remarriage. After separating from Dongli, she actually remarried to the notorious Dongli. Moreover, she remarried without any status. She was only one of Dongli's concubines. Therefore, in everyone's eyes, she was no different from a broken shoe. In the Vulture Palace, her reputation was bad. There were even people in the Vulture Palace who were openly talking about her behind her back. According to her temperament, she would have killed all those people long ago. However, Wu Lingzi was not allowed to give Wu Daozi any leverage. Vulture had already seen through Wu Lingzi's cowardice and was thoroughly disappointed. However, this was the only support she had left. She had once placed her hopes on Dongli and did not hesitate to serve him. However, the perverted Dongli from before seemed to be a completely different person. Although he was still very perverted sometimes, most of the time, he barely spoke, as if he was a cold metal man. The little Princess Vulture suddenly felt as if she couldn't even call for help. Therefore, she placed all her hopes on Queen Hai Exan. After all, the Snakeman Empire's forces had entered the southern barbarian continent. Moreover, Queen Hai Exan's strength made Wu Lingzi and Wu Daozi tremble. Queen Hai Exan summoned her and requested that Queen Hai Exan support Wu Lingzi and give up supporting Wu Daozi. Faced with Vulture's request, Queen Hai Exan chuckled. Then, as if she was joking, she said, "All right, as long as you can pull Yang Dingan onto my bed, I'll help you. How about it?" This was originally a joke, but Vulture treated it as a life-saving straw. Therefore, she proposed a deal to Yang Dingtian. Hearing her words, Yang Dingtian could not help but say, "Vulture, where is your dignity, your pride?" Hearing the statement, Ling Jiao shuddered while her beautiful face turned pale. She sneered and said, "Sire Yang Dingan, when everything you have is being stepped on by someone else and you are being tortured by a pervert, all your pride and dignity will vanish." Then, Vulture looked at Yang Dingtian. "I'm serious. As long as you help me take back everything I have, I'm willing to be your secret lover and let you play with me. I'm sure you've had some improper thoughts about me in the dead of night." Yang Dingtian stared at her, and suddenly felt that even the Vulture from 2 years ago, although incomparably vicious and incomparably selfish, was more adorable than this. Suddenly, he saw that there seemed to be a strange pattern on her neck. Vulture suddenly pulled open her collar, revealing most of her snow-white upper body. Her snow-white body was densely covered with tattoos, all of which were tattoos of poisonous snake scales. Then, she smiled cruelly and said, "There are more perverted ones. Do you want to see?" "No, I don't want to see," Yang Dingtian said. Vulture lifted her clothes and turned around, only to see that at the cervical vertebrae of her neck, tiny and delicate golden fins pierced out of her snow-white skin. At a glance, it made her look devilishly sexy, and she looked more like a sea serpent. They were planted alive piece by piece, not in the flesh, but in the bones. Vulture said, "You feel sorry for me, right?" Vulture said, "If you feel sorry for me, then help me." Yang Dingtan stared at her and said slowly, "I can't help you." Then Yaoli and Bolu left. "Yang Ding, you bastard, you bastard," Vulture said, "do you want to watch me completely fall into the 18th level of hell?" "That Wu Lingzi deserves to die," Yaoli suddenly said. Yang Dingtian was silent and did not speak. Bolu suddenly said, "Sir Yang Dingan, I feel a very terrifying aura from this woman's body." "What aura?" Yang Dingtian asked. "It's as if, as if an incomparably terrifying Viper King is struggling in the depths of hell and transforming. Once it succeeds, it might become an incomparably ferocious and terrifying flood dragon. Bolu said. Yang Dingon was stunned and said, "Strange, why do you have such a feeling? She's clearly acting very foolishly now." Yao Li suddenly said, "Yang Dingon, Bolu has a certain understanding of face-to-face. Therefore, in the dark domain, he can recognize you at a glance." Yang Dingtian said, "She has the talent of a celestial spirit master, 1 in a billion. However, she's lazy, selfish, and vicious. Currently, there's no room for a breakthrough in her cultivation." Bolu said, "From my point of view, she's in her most miserable state right now. You either kill her or take her in. Otherwise, I'm worried that the future will change." Yang Dingon thought for a while and said, "It's impossible to take her in. My wife and children are all kind and cute. Once I join her, my family will not be at peace. Then kill her." Bolu said, "I noticed that her eyes are gradually showing signs of blood pupils. Those with blood pupils will bring a huge disaster." Yang Dingtian nodded and did not say anything else. The three of them rode the demon eagle and quickly flew back to Zhongjing. After returning to Zhongjing, Yang Dingtian directly held the highest meeting of the Council of Light. "I propose to mobilize the Navy and Air Force to completely seal off the southern barbarian continent and annihilate any ships within 1,000 miles of the coast of the southern barbarian continent. I propose to send the Blazing Fire Legion to follow the fleet and be ready to take off at any time to annihilate all the air forces of the southern barbarian continent in sight. I propose that the medium and large missile troops all board the ships and be ready to carpet bomb all the ground of the southern barbarian continent. I propose that the Southern Barbarian Continent Legion, Inzhou Legion, and Zhongjing's 1st Legion, a total of 2 million ground troops, be ready to board the ships at any time. Once the Southern Barbarian Continent is destroyed, immediately prepare to disembark. Moreover, all of this is in the name of eliminating the rebellion of the Vulture Palace and expelling the invaders of the Southern Barbarian Continent." Yang Dingtian's words shocked everyone. Song Shao was so excited that his hair almost stood up. Dongfang Minmi said, "Sect Master, are we going to use force to take back the Southern Barbarian Continent?" Yang Dingtian said, "No, this time we're mainly preparing to attack the forces of the Snakeman Empire in the Southern Barbarian Continent. As for the Southern Barbarian Continent, I hope we can take it back without using too much force. I really don't want the entire Black Vulture Legion to die under our Phoenix-level missiles." Qin Wanchou said, "Then what's your plan?" Yang Dingtian said, 1,000,000 troops, in the name of supporting Wolingzi and expelling the invaders, surround the southern barbarian continent. Although our army is ready at any time and is very close to the southern barbarian continent, it will take at least 7 days to complete the encirclement. After 7 days, Wu Daozi and I will have a duel at the Heavenly Edict Academy." What? Dongfang Minmi was shocked. Yang Dingan said, "Master, don't worry. If it's Wolingzi, I wouldn't dare to say it. But if it's Wu Daozi, I'm almost certain I'll win. After defeating him, we'll expel him from the Vulture Palace. Whether Wolingzi acknowledges it or not, we'll put him back in his position. Then, our 1,000,000 troops will only attack the Snakeman Empire's army and not the Vulture Palace. With Wolingzi's personality, he'll definitely be a coward and not offend either side." After destroying the Snakeman Empire's forces in the southern barbarian continent, our 1,000,000 troops will directly land on the southern barbarian continent and truly take control of the southern barbarian continent's defense area. We'll also form a de facto encirclement of the Vulture Palace. Qin Wanchou said, "With Wolingzi's personality, he'll definitely be furious, but there's nothing he can do. Yes, he's a coward at heart. He's good at scheming but not decisive. He's timid and greedy for life. He can't be coaxed, he can only be beaten." Yang Dingtian said, "After completing the encirclement of the Vulture Palace, we'll disintegrate and infiltrate from the inside. We'll strive to swallow the entire Black Vulture Legion and, in fact, complete the annexation of the Vulture Palace." Then, Yang Dingtian said, "Of course, this is the most ideal situation. There might be many unforeseen events, and the biggest one is the Snakeman Empire's Queen Hai-Exan. Once she interferes, the consequences will be severe. Therefore, we have to carry out a greater deterrent to the Snakeman Empire. Send out a large number of troops to the Dongli grassland and conduct a military drill. We'll act as if we're going to attack the Dongli grassland and support the Snakeman Empire's rebel army. Qin Wanchou said, In that case, perhaps the scale of the troops dispatched will be very, very, very large. Yang Dingtian said, Send out part of the Western Capital's army, the Northwest Continent's army, the Iron Furnace City's army, the Northland Army, and the Cloud Sky City's army. Qin Wanchou clicked his tongue. This might exceed 8 million troops. Yang Dingtian said, Just treat it as a drill for the expedition to the Snakeman Empire. Without such a large force, we won't be able to intimidate the Snakeman Empire. And that's not enough. There are 2 other things we need to do. We need to make sure Queen Hai-Exan understands that the Snakeman Empire is our true target. Dongfang Minmi said, What are those 2 things? Yang Dingtian said, First, the Palace of Skulls is currently being guarded by the Snakeman Empire's experts. I'll lead all of the unbounded martial grandmasters to wipe out the Snakeman Empire and take back the Palace of Skulls. After that, Master, Yu, Bolu, and Demon Li will enter the Snakeman Empire and wait for an opportunity to help the rebel army. We'll carry out large-scale assassinations and destruction in the Snakeman Empire's cities. Dongfang Minmi was silent for a long moment. If we do that, we might really anger Queen Hai-Exan. Yang Dinghun said, Yes, she might. But since she needs my help, she won't be able to completely turn on me. Sect Lord, Qin Wanchou said, You're taking a huge risk. But if we don't take any risks, we won't do anything. That's what I think we should do. And thus, the highest echelons of the Council of Light voted to launch a large-scale military operation against the Snakeman Empire in the South Barbarian continent. After the meeting was over, immediately, hundreds of Devil Vulture messengers flew out in all directions. A day later, the Tiando League's 10 million troops began to assemble, indicating that an unprecedented war was about to break out. Everyone was shocked. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.